Chapter 1385. Kill! A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Kill, I can only kill. Before I leave, I will kill everyone until they are terrified. It would be best if I could kill all the martial emperors who are above rank 3 martial royal realm. Only then can the divine region be safe and I can go to Yuan continent with ease. The killing intent in Lu Ming's eyes became colder and colder. In the end, it was filled with madness. Kill! Lu Ming wanted to kill all the martial emperors above LV3 martial royal realm in the godly ruins. If anyone heard this, they would think that he was crazy. There were many experts in the godly ruins. There were many LV4 martial royal realm experts. With Lu Ming's cultivation, how could he kill them? Even Xian Yanqing was shocked by Lu Ming's words. Now I am no match for a LV4 martial royal realm expert. Therefore, I need to cultivate in seclusion. When the time comes, I will refine my second body and set up a killing formation. I might have a chance, Lu Ming said. He decided to take the risk. With his current combat strength, even if his main body and second body worked together, they would not be a match for a LV4 martial royal realm expert. He needed to increase his strength. After cultivating for a while, his pure spiritual body had reached 90% completion. He was only a step away from reaching 100% completion. Once his pure spiritual body reached 100% completion, its power would increase. At the same time, Lu Ming's strongest killing move was the chaotic flipping sky seal. During this time, Lu Ming had cultivated the 5 wills martial skills to the 6th highest level. Now, Lu Ming had started to cultivate the chaotic flipping sky seal. Once he succeeded in cultivating the chaotic flipping sky seal, its power would be shocking. At that time, his second body would set up a killing formation in advance. He might be able to kill a LV4 martial royal realm expert. Xian Yanqing knew that Lu Ming was a decisive person. Since he had decided, he would do it. She did not say much. She decided to strengthen her cultivation and increase her strength so that she could help Lu Ming sooner. Now, there were only 4 months left before the 2-year agreement with the Yuanlu Great Sect. After that, Lu Ming's main body entered the mountain and river diagram. The mountain and river diagram was put away by Xian Yanqing, who then turned around and entered the place filled with demonic qi. As for Ming Lian's second body, he had left. In the days that followed, Ming Lian's second body would occasionally appear to attract the attention of others. However, as soon as he appeared, he would disappear without a trace. He would hide his identity and go to a secret place to inscribe inscriptions and great killing formations. His main body, on the other hand, had been bitterly cultivating. Time passed day by day. In the 2nd month of his seclusion, Xian Yanqing made a breakthrough in his cultivation and reached the Supreme Being level. Not long after Xian Yanqing's breakthrough, Dandan and Bubble woke up one after another. Moreover, when Dandan and Bubbles woke up, their auras were extremely shocking. All of them possessed the aura of Monarch Realm experts. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Dandan and Bubble were the real top 10 battle beasts. Their combat strength was extremely terrifying. Although they had just broken through to the Emperor Realm, their combat strength was unpredictable. When Dandan heard that a LV4 martial royal realm expert was chasing after Lu Ming, it even said that it would kill him with one slap. It was extremely arrogant. Lu Ming didn't believe it. He fought with Dandan, but he found that he was no match for it at all. Haha, Lu Ming, let's see how you can be arrogant in front of me in the future. You'd better listen to me obediently in the future. Dandan was complacent. It put its front paws behind its back and showed off its arrogance. Bam! In the next moment, it was kicked by Bubble and rolled on the ground dozens of times. You little one, how dare you attack me? Dandan's arrogance didn't last more than 3 seconds. It got up from the ground and glared at Bubble. Chirp chirp. Bubble stood on Lu Ming's shoulder and looked at Dandan with a pair of black eyes. The bubbles at the tip of its nose, one big and one small, seemed to be saying to Dandan, "Come and fight me if you dare." Dandan was furious, but Bubble was a time and space spirit mouse. It could control time and space. It couldn't do anything to Bubble. Chirp, chirp, Bubble chirped and curled up its body, rolling up and down on Lu Ming's shoulder. Sigh, it seems that I should give all the spiritual medicines to Bubble in the future. It's so obedient, Lu Ming muttered. Dandan immediately stopped and said with a flattering smile, Lu Ming, don't do that. No, I was just joking with you. Lu Ming ignored Dandan and looked into the distance. A wisp of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Then this time, let's play bigger. Dandan's combat strength was above his. It was definitely not weaker than a level 4 martial emperor. It might even be stronger. Coupled with the space-time concept of bubbles, no, it should be said that it was the wonders of the space-time domain. Lu Ming intended to go all out. After that, he continued to cultivate. Half a month before the arrival of the great emissary of the Yuanlu sect, Lu Ming finally mastered the chaotic sky-flipping seal. It's time to act! Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Then, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing left the area and came to a vast lake. Previously, Ming Lian's second body had secretly carved a killing array near the lake. It had taken him several months to complete it. This killing array was passed down from a heavenly profound saint, and its power was terrifying. Given Ming Lian's second body's cultivation, it had taken him several months to complete it. This showed how powerful it was. It's time to spread the news, Lu Ming said in a low voice. Then, Ming Lian's second body stepped into the air and left. Not long after, an explosive piece of news spread across the continent of God. Someone had found the place where Lu Ming had been cultivating in seclusion. Lu Ming had been cultivating in seclusion in that place all along. When the news came out, the continent of God was in an uproar. Let's go and capture Lu Ming. This time, we can't let him escape. Seal that place. Experts from the South Divine Palace, North Divine Palace, East Divine Palace, West Divine Palace, and the Blood Yang continent, which was ranked second and third. Countless experts gathered at the lake where Lu Ming was. Lu Ming, who was sitting cross-legged on the lake, suddenly opened his eyes. Are they here? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Rip! Hiss! The surrounding space continued to crack open as one figure after another stepped out from the space. At the same time, terrifying auras spread out. Experts, all of them were experts. The weakest among them were martial emperors. There were more than 500 of them. That was a shocking number. There were more than 500 martial emperors. The 4 divine palaces had all come, along with some experts from other continents. Lu Ming was surrounded by people in all directions. The space seemed to have solidified. Lu Ming did not have the slightest chance to escape. Lu Ming, where are you going? Someone in the north spoke. It was Wang Xing. Who said I was going to run? Lu Ming stood up and stood on the lake, looking around coldly. Most of the third-level martial emperors in the continent of God were here. Not running anymore? Hee, it seems that you know you can't run away. Wang Xing sneered. Ha ha! Lu Ming sneered and ignored Wang Xing. He swept his gaze across the crowd and said, You're here for the primordial chaos token so that you can enter the ruins of God and obtain treasures. Chapter 1386. There are indeed countless treasures in the core of the ruins of God. Everyone's eyes lit up at Lu Ming's words. They were tempted. Among all the people here, only Lu Ming had entered the core of the ruins of God, and only he had the right to speak. The reason why my cultivation has progressed so quickly is because I obtained a supreme treasure in the core of the ruins of God. Lu Ming continued to speak, making everyone's hearts burn. Yes, Lu Ming was just a young man in the divine wilderness continent, but he was able to suppress all the heroes and stand at the peak of the younger generation in the divine wilderness continent. Now, he was even more shocking. He could kill martial emperors like cutting melons and vegetables. This was too unbelievable. Everyone attributed all of this to the core of the ruins of God. It must be, Lu Ming must have obtained a treasure in the core of the ruins of God to achieve such results. Chaos Origin Token! Everyone stared at Lu Ming, wishing they could eat Lu Ming. However, for a moment, no one made a move. There were so many people here, and the 4 divine palaces had gathered. Everyone wanted the Chaos Origin token, and they were all wary of each other. Who should I give the Chaos Origin token to? How about this? I surrender and join one of your sides to help you enter the core of the ruins of God. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he spoke. The eyes of the people of the 4 divine palaces lit up. However, immediately, everyone was on guard against each other. If Lu Ming really joined one of their sides, he would definitely be attacked by the other 3 sides. Don't fall into this kid's trap. He's instigating us to attack first. A loud shout rang out. Lu Ming looked over and found that the one who spoke was the Southern Divine Palace's Suppressing Marshal, Hai Pingtian. Hai Pingtian looked at Lu Ming with resentment. That's right, he wants us to fight so that he can find a chance to escape. The others also spoke. These people were all old monsters who had lived for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. How could they not know what Lu Ming was thinking? I suggest that we take down Lu Ming first, cripple his cultivation, and then let the 4 celestial palaces jointly control him. In any case, there are ruins of God near the 4 celestial palaces. We can take turns using Lu Ming to explore the ruins of God. Wouldn't that work? Wan Xing suggested. I think it's fine. I agree. The others also spoke one after another, reaching an agreement. Lu Ming, your little tricks are useless in front of us. You should just obediently surrender. This is your fate. Hai Pingtian sneered. Really? Lu Ming's expression remained calm even though his plan to sow discord had failed. He glanced at Hai Pingtian and said, Then make a move. Come and take me. You. Hai Pingtian almost attacked when he saw Lu Ming's confident expression, but he withheld his urge in the nick of time. This kid is full of tricks, but he's still so calm. Perhaps there's a trap here. This kid has a clone that excels in the art of inscriptions. Perhaps he has set up a deadly formation here. Hai Pingtian calmed his thoughts and analyzed. That's right, we have to be careful. Another 4th-layer martial dominator realm expert said. What is it? You don't dare to attack? Such a piece of trash, as timid as a mouse. Lu Ming let out a hollow laugh. Hai Pingtian and the other authorities of the 4 celestial palaces wore unpleasant looks. They were afraid that Lu Ming had set up a deadly formation here. Lu Ming's strength was shocking, as he was able to kill a 3rd-layer martial dominator realm cultivator. It was strange enough. They were afraid that Lu Ming had found some treasure from the core of the ruins of God and set it up in the formation, thus the first one to attack would be in danger. However, they could not attack together and kill Lu Ming. The Chaos Badge had merged with Lu Ming's body. Even if they killed Lu Ming, they would not be able to obtain the Chaos Badge. They could only defeat Lu Ming or cripple Lu Ming's cultivation. As such, they would have to be cautious when attacking. Still not attacking? Who cares if you're an overlord? You're all trash. Lu Ming was extremely scornful, showing no sign of being worried. This made the crowd even more certain that Lu Ming had set up a formation. We'll know if there's a formation here, one of the authorities said. In the godly ruins, only 4th-layer martial dominators were qualified to be considered as overlords. That's right, let's send someone to test it out. Another overlord-level character spoke. But who should they send? The eyes of the crowd flickered. No one was willing to test it out. If Lu Ming had set up a deadly formation here, it would be dangerous for anyone to test it out. This made the 4 divine palaces unwilling to send anyone to test it out. These people from the smaller continents have followed us here. They should at least do something. Someone said slowly. The faces of the experts from the other continents changed drastically. Whoosh! Whoosh! In a flash, the overlords of the 4 divine palaces appeared beside the experts from the other continents. Their cold eyes sent chills down the spines of the experts from the other continents. What are you doing? Someone from the other continents shouted. What are we doing? If you want to fish in troubled waters, you should at least do something. Go and take down that kid. An overlord said coldly. You're too overbearing. Someone was unwilling to give up. Nonsense, go. If you don't, I'll destroy all of you, including your continents. The overlord scolded in an overbearing manner. In the end, apart from the second-rank Blood Sun continent, the experts from the other continents had no choice but to step forward. There were dozens of them. They were all second-layer martial dominators and third-layer martial dominators. These people were forced to slowly approach Lu Ming. Lu Ming, surrender! A third-layer martial dominator scolded. Nonsense, if you want to do it, just do it. Stop wasting time. Lu Ming retorted. Let's do it together. All right, let's do it together. In the end, dozens of second-layer and third-layer martial dominators rushed toward Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming suddenly shouted. The dragon roar came out of his body, and the third bloodline appeared. The dragon veined sword appeared in his hand. He stepped forward and slashed out. Bang! Bang! The sword radiance destroyed all the attacks and killed the 3 LV2 martial royal realm experts. With a sweep of his leg, a third-level martial emperor expert trembled and was sent flying by Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming held the combat sword in his hand. It was as if he was in a no-man's land, killing unhindered. When the dragon veined sword slashed out, the LV2 martial royal realm cultivators could not withstand it at all. They were all killed in one strike. Only the LV3 martial royal realm cultivators could withstand a few strikes. Roar! Suddenly, the 9 dragons bloodline appeared as Lu Ming transformed into 9 dragons. The chaotic domain covered the area and the 9 dragons clawed at a third-layer martial dominator, tearing him apart. The others took deep breaths and backed away in fear. In just a few breaths' time, more than 10 of them had been killed by Lu Ming. They posed no threat to Lu Ming. This kid's strength has improved again. A thought crossed Hai Pingtian's mind. Chapter 1387. He discovered that Lu Ming's combat ability had improved as compared to the past. In fact, this was indeed the case. Now, Lu Ming's pure spirit body had been cultivated to perfection. Moreover, the embryonic form of the chaos domain was getting bigger and more mature. His main body's combat power had indeed improved greatly compared to before. Currently, the strength of Lu Ming's main body had reached its peak, a peak that was difficult to improve further. The rulers of the 4 great sacred palaces wore unpleasant looks on their faces. Sending these people was not enough to test Lu Ming's strength. They would have to send a 4th-layer martial dominator realm cultivator to test the waters. However, none of the 4th-layer martial dominators were willing to take the risk. I'll do it, Hai Pingtian said after a while. The feud between him and Lu Ming was as deep as the sea. He could not wait to tear Lu Ming into pieces. Bang! Bang! Hai Pingtian stepped forward while unleashing his 4th-layer martial dominator realm aura. At the same time, a pair of golden wings appeared on his back, which emitted a sharp aura that tore the space apart. Hai Pingtian, very well, I'll send you to accompany your sons and second brother today. Lu Ming's voice could be heard from the 9 dragons. Son of a bitch, I'll cripple your cultivation first and make you suffer a fate worse than death. Hai Pingtian said as he flapped his wings, causing his figure to disappear as he charged at Lu Ming. Whoosh whoosh, the pair of golden wings slashed at the 9 dragons like 2 sharp blades. Whoosh! Lu Ming controlled the dragon veined sword with his spiritual sense and blocked one of the slashes. Meanwhile, the 9 dragons stepped forward and lashed out at the other slash. Clang! Bang! Following a few explosions, the 9 dragons' bodies shuddered violently as they were knocked backward. Die! Hai Pingtian uttered a cold roar as he continued to charge at Lu Ming. Several slashes were fired at Lu Ming. Lu Ming tried his best to defend himself, but he was still at a disadvantage. The 9 dragons' bodies were covered in cracks. A 4th-layer martial king was much stronger than a 3rd-layer martial king. Lu Ming was no match for him. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure rushed out from the 9 dragons. Inscribed the second body. Ming Lian's second body waved his hand, and 5 phoenix feather flying swords pierced through the void and shot towards Hai Pingtian. At the same time, the myriad formation illustration flew out, and an endless array enveloped Hai Ping Tian. Clang! Clang! Hai Ping Tian's golden wings flapped, knocking away the 5 phoenix feather flying swords and wiping out a large expanse of array formations. The 9 dragons roared, and together with Ming Lian's second body, they charged towards Hai Ping Tian. The two of them began a great battle. For a moment, although Lu Ming was still at a disadvantage, the combination of his main body and second body was flawless, and he was able to barely resist. This Lu Ming is truly a genius! Even though they were enemies, an overlord couldn't help but sigh. That's right. I don't know what secret technique this fella cultivates, but his clone is actually a pure inscription master, and it's even a ruler. Unbelievable! Could it be a powerful puppet technique? The overlords began to discuss. With their knowledge, it was impossible for them to know anything about the twin secret technique, thus they began to speculate. Since we've already offended him, we can't let him live. We must at least cripple his cultivation at any cost, Wang Xing said. His heart turned cold. Lu Ming's talent was too terrifying. If Lu Ming managed to escape, he would become a nightmare for them in the future. The other overlords nodded their heads. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and Hai Ping Tian had exchanged over 10 blows. How, Tian, is that all you've got? How are you going to avenge your son? Lu Ming mocked Hai Ping Tian in the midst of the battle. Damn it! Hai Ping Tian let out a furious roar in his heart. He had already tried his best, but he still couldn't defeat Lu Ming. Although his cultivation was only at the early stage of the 4th layer martial dominator realm, and his strength was considered weak among the 4th layer martial dominators, it wasn't difficult for him to kill a 3rd layer martial dominator realm cultivator. However, he still couldn't defeat a young cultivator. His heart began to feel a little restless. Now's the time. Lu Ming's eyes flickered all of a sudden as the blood of the 9 dragons collapsed, revealing Lu Ming's true form. Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal! Lu Ming rapidly performed a hand seal with his hands. Bang! A giant seal was formed in the sky, which looked like the imperial seal used by the emperors of the mortal world. However, it was as large as a mountain and was covered in a chaotic glow. This was the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal. The Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal descended from the sky and suppressed Hai Ping Tian. Hai Ping Tian's expression changed greatly due to its terrifying power. Block it! Hai Ping Tian uttered a roar as a pair of golden wings on his back flapped rapidly, forming a sharp aura that fired at the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal. Bang! Finally, the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal collided with Hai Ping Tian's attack. At that instant, Hai Ping Tian's expression changed tremendously. His attacks continued to explode and disappear. The Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal was like an ancient godly mountain that suppressed everything. Bang! In the end, Hai Ping Tian's attack was shattered as the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal landed on Hai Ping Tian's body. Hai Ping Tian's body shuddered violently as he let out a cry of agony and fell to the ground, spitting out blood from his mouth. Hai Ping Tian was no match for the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal and was severely injured. Kill! At that instant, Ming Lian's second body took the opportunity to attack Hai Ping Tian. The 10,000 formation illustration covered Hai Ping Tian's figure while 5 phoenix feather flying swords pierced Hai Ping Tian's vital points. Hai Ping Tian tried his best to defend himself, but as he had just been struck by the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal, his aura had yet to recover. His body was in great pain as if it were being torn apart, thus he could not exert any of his strength. He tried his best to defend himself, but his body was still penetrated by 2 phoenix feather flying swords, which almost slashed his body into pieces. Break! In the end, a blinding golden light burst out as one of Hai Ping Tian's wings exploded into pieces, forming a terrifying storm that tore apart the seal of Ming Lian's second body. Hai Ping Tian flew toward the crowd of the southern god's palace and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood with a pale face. The crowd inhaled deeply. A 4th layer martial dominator had almost been killed by Lu Ming. It was too shocking. What a pity! Lu Ming let out a sigh. His strength was still lacking after all. Even with the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal, he had still failed to kill Hai Pingtian. If Hai Pingtian was more cautious next time, it would be more difficult to kill him. His strength was still lacking compared to the fourth layer martial dominator realm. The consumption of true qi is terrifying, Lu Ming exclaimed. A huge pile of origin stones appeared. Lu Ming unleashed the 9 dragons' bloodline to devour the origin stones and refine them. The chaotic sky flipping seal had consumed almost 50% of Lu Ming's true qi. In other words, with Lu Ming's true qi, he could only execute 2 chaotic sky flipping seals before his true qi was depleted. What should we do now? One of the Dominator Realm cultivators asked. Even Hai Pingtian had failed to find out if Lu Ming had set up a deadly formation. What should they do next? Let's send a few more people to find out. Chapter 1388. That's right, I suggest that each of the 4 great celestial palaces send a 4th layer martial dominator realm expert to join forces with each other. This way, we'll be able to probe this kid's strength. If he doesn't set up a deadly formation here, we'll be able to take him down, a white-haired elder from the North Divine Palace said. He was the palace master of the North Divine Palace. His cultivation had reached the peak of the LV4 martial royal realm. Okay, let's do that. The others nodded in agreement. Next, it was time to choose the candidates. Soon, each of the 4 divine palaces chose a LV4 martial royal realm expert. Wang Xing had just surrendered to the North Divine Palace, so his position was the lowest. Needless to say, the North Divine Palace asked him to fight, which made his face pale. Boom! 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 In 4 different directions, the 4 overlords charged toward Lu Ming like 4 heavenly deities. Lu Ming, no matter what tricks you have up your sleeves, today's result has been decided, Wang Xing sneered. Step by step, his aura became stronger and stronger. His whole body was covered by milky white holy light. He was the strongest among the 4. He was originally one of the 10 family patriarchs of the South Divine Palace. Moreover, he was ranked in the top 3. His cultivation had almost reached the peak of the LV4 martial royal realm. Lu Ming's main body and second body stood together. The prototype of the chaotic realm covered his body to resist the pressure from the outside world. Boom! Under the pressure of the 4 experts, the lake water below surged. The water within 100,000 miles of the lake evaporated, revealing the dry bottom of the lake. Attack! Suddenly, Wang Xing roared and took the initiative to attack. The other 3 experts also charged toward Lu Ming. Bubble! At this moment, Lu Ming shouted softly. Then, Bubble appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. It chirped and waved its little paw forward. A transparent bubble suddenly appeared on Wang Xing and the other 3 experts and enveloped them. The 4 of them were fixed in the air, unable to move. The 4 experts were sealed in the bubbles and their eyes were filled with horror. Kill! Lu Ming's main body wielded the dragon veined sword and charged towards one of them. The battle sword slashed out, and the person was cut into 2 halves. The spiritual deity was also crushed by the sword qi. A 4th layer martial dominator was killed just like that. How could this be? Everyone was stunned. They did not understand what was going on. As for Lu Ming, he charged towards the second person. Puchi! Blood splattered everywhere. The second overlord was killed by Lu Ming. Then, Lu Ming charged toward the third person, Wang Xing. What's going on? Break for me! Break for me! Wang Xing roared crazily and used all his strength to blast open the transparent bubble. Just as Lu Ming was about to reach him, he finally broke the transparent bubble. But what made him despair was that as soon as he broke this transparent bubble, another transparent bubble appeared out of nowhere and enveloped him. This transparent bubble appeared without any warning, without any fluctuations. There was no way to avoid it. No, don't! Wang Xing let out a furious roar in his heart as he struggled desperately. However, Lu Ming had already arrived. Whoosh! The sword slashed down and split Wang Xing in half, destroying his body and soul. After killing Wang Xing, Lu Ming charged toward the fourth person without hesitation. What's going on? That's the space-time domain. It's the space-time domain. It's the pet. He's a monster, a monster. Let's attack together and kill him. I'd rather not have the Chaos Badge. Lu Ming had killed 3 overlords in a row, causing the experts of the 4 directions godly palaces to lose their minds. Lu Ming was too dangerous. If they did not kill him today, they would be the ones to die in the future. Attack! Everyone attack! Kill! Over 100 experts of the 4 directions godly palaces made their moves at that instant. Hundreds of attacks gathered together and fired at Lu Ming. The attacks were too terrifying, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Lu Ming's pupils shrank rapidly. There was no doubt that if he was hit, Lu Ming would definitely be turned into ashes. There was no chance of him surviving. Chirp chirp, Bubble's body glowed as it grabbed at the void with its little claws. A space-time passage appeared and Lu Ming rushed into it without hesitation. Boom! As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the space-time passage, the attack landed on the ground. Down below, the lake that was hundreds of thousands of miles wide was instantly destroyed. Rumble! The ground within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles shook violently. Countless huge cracks covered the entire ground like a spider web. At the center of the attack, a huge hole with a radius of tens of thousands of miles appeared. It was unfathomable. Boom! The next moment, fiery red magma rushed out of the huge hole and rose thousands of miles into the sky. There was no doubt that the ground had been penetrated. It was as if doomsday had arrived and countless creatures had died. Tens of thousands of miles away, the space fluctuated and Lu Ming's figure appeared. Lu Ming is not dead! He's over there! Kill him! Whoosh! 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 When the experts saw Lu Ming, they immediately charged at him. Beams of dazzling light streaked across the sky and charged at Lu Ming. If you want to kill, I'll kill to my heart's content today! The power of the air-frozen bead flowed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming performed the wind origin skill and his body swayed rapidly. He dodged the attacks and charged into the crowd. Chirp chirp, Bubble cried. The first to bear the brunt was a 4th-layer Martial Royal Realm expert. He was trapped in the transparent bubble and could not move at all. Puff! Lu Ming rushed over and killed the man. Puff! Puff! Then, Lu Ming rushed over and killed a few Martial Royal Realm experts. Lu Ming was bathed in Martial Royal Realm blood and looked like an invincible god of death. Help each other! Whoever is trapped by the bubble, help each other! Someone shouted. Then, when someone was trapped by the bubble, the other experts quickly came to Lu Ming's rescue. His trick is useless. Kill! Lu Ming must die today! The crowd yelled and charged at Lu Ming from all directions. It's my turn! Dandan appeared and flew out. Suddenly, a gigantic turtle shell appeared in the air. Many attacks landed on the turtle shell, but they were all blocked by the turtle shell. Whoosh! Whoosh! Bubble opened its mouth and spat out a few rays of light. These rays of light were like wind blades, but many times stronger than wind blades. They were formed by space and time. Puff! A 4th-layer Martial Royal Realm expert was killed by the rays of light. I'll do it! Dandan let out a roar as her body expanded rapidly. With a single slap, she slapped a 4th-layer Martial Dominator Realm expert to death. After Dandan and Bubble had reached the Martial Royal Realm, they had displayed terrifying strength. They could even kill a 4th-layer Martial Royal Realm expert. This sent chills down the spines of the surrounding experts. Chapter 1389. Nestle, there are too many of them. Dandan killed another 2 third-layer Martial Royal Realm experts before returning to Lu Ming's shoulder. Chirp chirp, Bubble appeared silently on Lu Ming's other shoulder. Let's go! Lu Ming executed the wind origin technique and turned around to leave. Kill! Don't let him escape! The experts at the scene were already in a frenzy, and they charged toward Lu Ming. Hundreds of rainbow-colored rays pierced through the sky and engulfed Lu Ming. At the crucial moment, Bubble opened a spatial tunnel and Lu Ming dashed into it and appeared 10,000 li away, dodging the attack. Don't stop, continue to pursue him. No matter how powerful his pet is, it won't be able to use that move continuously. It will exhaust its energy. He won't be able to escape. Some of the Overlord Realm experts urged the crowd to attack Lu Ming. Today, they had to kill Lu Ming. Otherwise, if Lu Ming were to escape, they would not be able to gather together every day. They would have to split up. Once they split up, it would be more dangerous for them to face Lu Ming's attacks. Therefore, they had to eliminate the source of the trouble. They chased after Lu Ming with all their might. Lu Ming flew forward rapidly. After flying for 1,000,000 li, Lu Ming suddenly came to a stop and turned around to look at the experts behind him. A cold grin appeared on his face. Seeing the experts approaching him, Ming Lian's second body appeared. The will flame on his forehead flickered as he yelled, "Rise! Buzz! Buzz!" Countless inscriptions appeared in the void as a huge array appeared in the sky. The formation covered an area with a circumference of 30,000 li, encapsulating everyone within it. This was Lu Ming's killing move. Lu Ming's ultimate killing array was not engraved at the lake. Instead, it was here. The lake was just bait. Even he was bait. He had long known that the experts of the 4 cardinal celestial palaces would not be fooled so easily. Everything that had happened before was for this moment, to lure these people here. "Oh no, we've been tricked! There's a killing array here! Get out of here!" Someone shouted. "It's too late! God-slaying sword formation, kill!" Ming Lian's second body roared. Countless rays of sword light appeared in the ultimate kill formation. Each ray of sword light emitted a terrifying aura. This was something Ming Lian's second body spent several months to lay down. Its power was terrifyingly great. Whoosh! 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 Sword chi swept across the sky, slashing down. Puff! Puff! Poof! First layer martial emperors, second layer martial emperors, and third layer martial emperors had no chance against it. Their bodies and souls were instantly destroyed. Only those in the 4th layer of the martial emperor realm could resist it. In just a few minutes, there were only a few dozen 4th layer martial emperors left in the sky. These people were practically the pinnacle experts of the continent of God. However, these experts were also bitterly holding on. Lu Ming saw Hai Pingtian's heart being pierced by thousands of swords and he died on the spot. He was already injured and was the first to die. After Hai Pingtian died, some of the weaker overlords were also killed one by one. The number of people was decreasing. "Lu Ming, let us go. I'm willing to join you." "I'm willing too." "Spare us." Some people shouted and begged for mercy. "All of you should die." "I'd rather believe in the dead," Lu Ming said coldly. The ultimate kill formation was activated and countless sword lights shot out. One after another, people were killed. These were the overlords of the continent of God. However, their lives were worthless, and they died on this piece of land. A few minutes later, there were only 5 or 6 people left in the sky. These people were the pinnacle experts of the continent of God. Each of them was only a step away from the 5th layer martial emperor realm. They tried their best to break out of the ultimate kill formation, but the ultimate kill formation covered an area of 30,000 miles. "Lu Ming, you'll die a horrible death!" The last few people started cursing when they couldn't beg for mercy. Puff! Puff! However, in the end, they were all exhausted and killed in the ultimate kill formation. This time, more than 500 martial emperors had come to kill Lu Ming. However, they were all killed by Lu Ming. This had never happened before in the continent of God. After killing the last person, Lu Ming relaxed. He let out a long breath and was about to put away the ultimate kill formation storage ring. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly felt a sense of crisis in his heart. This sense of crisis made Lu Ming's hair stand on end and he felt a chill in his heart. Whoosh! At that moment, a terrifying attack came from behind Lu Ming and attacked Lu Ming. Fast. It was too fast. It was so fast that Lu Ming could barely react. Almost subconsciously and instinctively, Ming Lian's second body moved and blocked Lu Ming's back. Puff! It was a beam of sword light that pierced through Ming Lian's second body's chest. The terrifying sword chi suddenly exploded, and half of Ming Lian's second body exploded. Even half of his head was blown off. Bang! Ming Lian's second body flew far away and his breath was extremely weak. The second body was in mortal danger. The main body trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, this delay also bought Lu Ming some time. The energy of the air-frozen bead flowed into Lu Ming's body. He used the wind origin skill and retreated quickly like a phantom. As soon as Lu Ming retreated, the sword light that attacked him advanced and attacked Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. It was a sword light with a shocking sharpness that could kill everything. Lu Ming had never seen such a sharp sword. At that moment, Dandan and Bubbles also reacted. A tortoise shell blocked in front of Lu Ming. A cracking sound was heard. The tortoise shell blocked some of the sword light but was still pierced by the sword light. At that moment, Bubbles opened up a void passage. Lu Ming's body disappeared into the void passage and appeared tens of thousands of miles away. He finally survived the fatal blow. Swoosh! The sword light flashed, and a middle-aged man appeared in the void. It's you? Seeing this person, Lu Ming's pupils contracted. This middle-aged man was the middle-aged man from the Celestial Sect. Back then, he had chased after Lu Ming with the head of the Mu family and young Master Lin. Later on, he was injured by the headless true dragon rider at the core of the ruins of God and had to retreat miserably. Lu Ming originally thought that the other party had returned to the Yuan continent. He didn't expect that not only did the other party not return to the Yuan continent, but he was also lying in ambush. When Lu Ming was at his most relaxed, the other party launched a fatal blow at Lu Ming. If it wasn't for the second body blocking the blow, Lu Ming would have been dead. However, there was something wrong with the other party's condition. His body was surrounded by a black mist. It was like a poisonous snake that wrapped around the body of the Celestial Sex man. It made him look extremely ferocious and his aura was unstable. It's equivalent to a rank 6 martial royal realm, Lu Ming estimated in his heart. The other party's cultivation should have been above rank 7 martial royal realm. However, because of the poisonous snake-like mist, his cultivation had dropped to rank 6 martial royal realm. Chapter 1390. Lu Ming, you're really lucky to be able to escape. However, this place is extremely far from the ruins of deity. Let's see how you're going to escape. The man from the heavenly divinity sect stared at Lu Ming. His eyes were filled with malevolent and cold killing intent. You didn't return to the Yuan continent? Lu Ming frowned as he concentrated. The man was right. This place was too far away from the ruins of deity. Even if he used the bubble to open a space-time tunnel, he wouldn't be able to escape the man's pursuit. He would be hunted down and killed before he could reach the ruins of deity. Lu Ming was in danger. It's all because of you. The man from the heavenly divinity sect seemed to have been stabbed by Lu Ming's question. He roared and said malevolently, It's all because of you. I'm cursed and my cultivation has dropped. If I take the teleportation formation in this state, the void will tremble and the curse will go deeper into my bones. It will be difficult to get rid of it. How can I be satisfied if I don't kill you? The man from the heavenly divinity sect became angrier as he spoke. His killing intent became colder. Lu Ming understood that the man must have been injured by the headless true dragon rider in the core of the ruins of deity and was cursed. The headless true dragon rider wasn't a living being. It was formed by the undying battle intent of an unparalleled expert. Every move of the headless true dragon rider contained the power of the curse that would continuously corrode one's body and soul. The man from the heavenly divinity sect was cursed, and that was why he hadn't returned to the Yuan continent. It seems like you're also the one who spread the news about me having the Chaos Token. Lu Ming's eyes moved and he suddenly spoke. He had always felt that this matter was strange. If the people from the Southern Divine Palace had searched Long Chen's soul and found out that he had the Chaos Token, They must have secretly sent experts to capture him. Why would the news spread like wildfire? Now that he saw the man from the Heavenly Divinity sect, Lu Ming suddenly thought of a possibility. It was highly possible that the man from the Heavenly Divinity sect was the one who spread the news. He wanted to use others to kill Lu Ming. "Haha, that's right, it's me!" The Heavenly Divinity sect's burly man laughed heartily. He took a step forward and crossed 100 miles. He rapidly approached Lu Ming. Lu Ming hurriedly retreated as he tried to think of a countermeasure. "The destruction of Dragon God Valley is also fake," Lu Ming continued. If the Celestial God sect wanted to borrow someone else's hand to get rid of Lu Ming, they would first have to make sure that Lu Ming's identity wasn't a deterrent. Ji Hongchen said that the Heavenly God sect had sent news that the Dragon God Valley had been destroyed. It was very likely that this Heavenly God sect man had told him that. He had sent a fake message with the goal of using other people to get rid of Lu Ming. "Not bad," the man from the Heavenly Divinity sect said coldly. "What a good plan." Lu Ming sighed. From the beginning to the end, it was all because of the Heavenly God sect's plan that Lu Ming had ended up like this, being hunted down by the entire continent of God. Unfortunately, the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect had underestimated Lu Ming. In the end, he had no choice but to act personally. Whoosh! The burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect was getting faster and faster, surpassing Lu Ming and quickly closing in on Lu Ming. Lu Ming could only ask Bubble to open a space-time tunnel and head towards the north. Tens of thousands of miles away, Lu Ming appeared. Whoosh! However, the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect was extremely fast. In a flash, he quickly chased after Lu Ming. The distance between the two of them was getting smaller and smaller. "What should I do?" Lu Ming's mind raced. The other party was too strong. The difference between Lu Ming and the other party was too big. Any method would be useless in front of Lu Ming's absolute power. Moreover, his second body was severely injured and his strength had decreased greatly. "Lu Ming, go ahead and escape. Let's see how you escape. Let me tell you. After killing you, I'll go to the Divine Wilderness Continent and destroy it. I'll kill everyone in the Divine Wilderness Continent," the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect said coldly, causing Lu Ming's killing intent to soar. Human lives were insignificant in the other party's eyes. Today, even if Lu Ming was lucky enough to escape, the other party would kill his way to the Divine Wilderness Continent. No one in the Divine Wilderness Continent would be spared. He was a madman. "Dandan, do you have any ideas?" Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Dandan. "Lu Ming, I knew that you would try to take advantage of me again. What a sin I am to be implicated by you every time." Dandan let out a long sigh. "Do you have any ideas?" Lu Ming asked again. "This person is cursed and his cultivation is only at the 6th layer Martial Emperor realm. If Xiao Budian cooperates with me, we might be able to severely injure him. However, we will suffer a great loss. Lu Ming, let me tell you, in the future you will have to compensate us." Dandan mumbled and then whispered to Bubble. Chirp chirp. At this moment, Bubble suddenly flew out. A layer of blood-red light appeared on its milky white fur, burning fiercely like a flame, causing Bubble's aura to increase greatly. "Space-time spirit mouse, I will take you down first." Greed flashed in the eyes of the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect. He waved the long sword in his hand and dozens of sword rays shot out, like a cage, toward Bubble. Bubble grabbed the air with its two small claws. Crack! Crack! The space trembled violently and cracked like pieces of crystal. In the end, it formed space swords and slashed toward the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect. The burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect was shocked and did not dare to be careless. He changed the direction of his sword and slashed out horizontally. Clang! 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 9 space swords were slashed apart by the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect. At this moment, Dandan also made his move. Just like Bubble, Dandan's body emitted a blood-red light, causing its aura to increase by a notch. Lu Ming knew that Dandan and Bubble were going all out. They had burned their essence blood to increase their strength in a short period of time, but the aftereffects were not small. Dandon's body became bigger than a mountain. Its two front claws slapped toward the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect. In the process of slapping, Dandon's claws were covered with inscriptions, forming a terrifying killing array that suppressed the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect. Clang! Two extremely sharp sword rays flew out from the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect and slashed at Dandon's claws. The array on Dandon's claws trembled and collapsed. Dandon's body flew out. However, at the same time, a transparent bubble suddenly appeared around the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect and enveloped him. "Good chance!" Dandon shouted. It opened its mouth and a ball of chaotic fog blasted toward the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect. The chaotic fog was like a world. Mountains and rivers could be vaguely seen. Whoosh! Whoosh! Just as Dandon's attack was about to land, the transparent bubble burst out with tens of thousands of sword lights, destroying the bubble in one fell swoop. The sword lights slashed at the illusory world that Dandon had spat out. Puff! The world that Dandon had spat out shook violently and finally dissipated. "Nestle, kill!" Chapter 1391. Dandon's strength had increased tremendously after burning his blood essence, allowing him to unleash terrifying attacks. Bubble was the same. Its entire body glowed with dazzling blood-red light as it chirped. Wherever it stood, the space around it rippled like water, as if it were the ruler of this world. It was capable of unleashing terrifying killing techniques. However, the strength of the man from the Heavenly Divinity sect was terrifying. He fought against Dandon and Bubble. "What a strong combat strength! Something is wrong with this combat strength!" Lu Ming wore a stern expression. The strength of the man from the Heavenly Divinity sect was beyond his imagination. The cultivation of the burly man from the Celestial God sect was equivalent to a 6th-level martial emperor. However, his combat strength was beyond Lu Ming's expectations. It was not the 6th-level martial emperor that Lu Ming had imagined. Instead, it was much higher. Lu Ming had killed more than one 4th-level martial emperor martial artist in the continent of Divine Ruins. Hence, he was very clear about the combat abilities of these 4th-level martial emperors. Although the 4th-layer martial royal realm cultivators in the Godly Ruins continent were strong, there was a limit to their strength. Based on their strength, he could roughly estimate that they were 6th-layer martial royal realm cultivators. However, the man from the Heavenly Divinity sect was much stronger than what Lu Ming had estimated. Could it be that the martial royal realm cultivators in the Yuanlu continent are much stronger than the martial royal realm cultivators in the Godly Ruins continent? Or is the man from the Heavenly Divinity sect a combat genius? Or maybe it's because his cultivation is higher? Lu Ming guessed. Then, Lu Ming's figure moved and appeared beside his second body. Lu Ming frowned as he sensed his condition. His second body was seriously injured. Half of his body had exploded and only half of his body was left. Fortunately, the soul that Lu Ming had split out from his second body was not seriously injured. Otherwise, his second body would have perished. However, the situation was not optimistic. The second body would need a long time to recover. During this time, the second body would not be able to help Lu Ming. He waved his hand and put his second body into the mountain and river diagram. Then, he condensed his true energy into a ribbon and collected the storage rings of the martial emperors. Boom! 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 The battle between Dandon, Bubble, and the burly man from the Heavenly God sect had reached its climax. "If you're cursing me, I'll fight you to the death!" Dandon made a big fuss in the air. It jumped left and right, and various kinds of attacks emerged one after another. Inscription Dao, Martial Dao, everything was available. As for the space-time spiritual mouse, it was much simpler. It used the space-time domain to fight against the enemy. However, its power was extremely terrifying. The big man from the Heavenly Divine sect was extremely afraid of Bubble's space-time domain. If he wasn't careful, he would be frozen by the space-time domain. It had to be said that Dandon and Bubbles were indeed powerful. They had just broken through to the Emperor realm not long ago, but the two of them were able to fight against the burly man from the celestial divinity sect by working together. One could only imagine how terrifying they would be when they were at their peak. Soon, the two sides had exchanged over 100 moves. Ha ha ha! It's finally done! At this moment, Dandan suddenly laughed. His figure suddenly retreated, and around the burly man from the celestial god sect, dense inscriptions suddenly appeared. It was a great array. Previously, Dandan was making a big fuss and jumping left and right. It turned out that he was secretly setting up an array. Now, the array was finally completed. Buzz! The array shone, and 9 huge tortoise shells appeared in the sky. The tortoise shells shone brightly, suppressing the burly man from the celestial divinity sect in all directions. Break for me! The burly man from the celestial divinity sect shouted. He slashed out with his sword and slashed at one of the tortoise shells. However, the tortoise shell only trembled, and it didn't break. Little guy, do it! Go all out! Dandan shouted. It opened its mouth and spat out a ball of chaotic light. Within the chaos, a world was formed. This time, the world that Dandan spat out was extremely realistic. The inscriptions within intertwined, forming all kinds of living beings that suppressed the burly man from the celestial divinity sect. Chirp chirp, Bubble cried out and waved its claws. Suddenly, a transparent bubble appeared around the burly man from the celestial divinity sect, enveloping him within. This bubble was obviously different from the transparent bubbles that appeared before. On top of this transparent bubble, there was a space-time spiritual mouse that was circling around and roaring at the sky. Break! 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 The burly man from the celestial divinity sect seemed to have sensed danger. He roared crazily and his sword chi exploded, trying to break the tortoise shell shield. Kacha! Kacha! A crack appeared on one of the tortoise shells, and then it exploded. Explode! Explode for me! Explode for me! Dandan roared. Boom! Boom! The world that Dandan spat out suddenly exploded. At the same time, Bubble's transparent bubble also exploded. The terrifying energy annihilated that area, turning it into a pitch-black mass. The terrifying destructive storm exploded in all directions. That area was like a black hole. Dandan and Bubble's bodies were blown far away by the destructive storm. Lu Ming quickly rushed out and caught Dandan and Bubble. At this moment, Dandan and Bubble's aura was extremely weak and their bodies were dim. Chirp chirp, Bubble cried out weakly. Its body curled up and it actually fainted. Bubble! Lu Ming felt a pain in his heart. Lu Ming, Xiao Budian and I have suffered great losses after burning our blood essence. I'm afraid we have to sleep for a while. When we wake up, you have to prepare a lot of spiritual herbs, Dandan said and fainted. Don't worry, Lu Ming whispered and put Dandan and Bubble into the mountain river diagram. Boom! The explosion continued and it took a while before it calmed down. A figure appeared in the sky. The burly man from the celestial divinity sect was still alive. But at this moment, he was extremely miserable. His body was tattered and wounds big and small covered his body. Blood flowed out continuously. His aura was extremely weak and there was a layer of true yuan covering his body, allowing him to stand in the air. Ah, damn it, damn it! The burly man from the celestial divinity sect roared. He was too miserable. He had already been struck by the headless true dragon knight's curse and his cultivation had regressed. It was difficult for him to recover even after such a long time. Just now, he had been heavily injured by Dandan and Bubble's joint attack. His injuries had worsened, and even if he recovered in the future, his cultivation would most likely regress and he would never be able to improve it again. His anger seemed to be able to burn half the sky. Kill! Before he could react, a cold murderous intent shrouded him. Lu Ming charged over. The embryonic form of the chaos domain wrapped around the dragon veined sword and slashed toward him. Clang! The burly man from the celestial divinity sect raised his long sword and blocked in front of him. The dragon veined sword struck his long sword, causing his body to shake violently. His body flew out like a cannonball and blood spurted out of his mouth. He was no match for Lu Ming now. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and charged towards the burly man. Lu Ming, I'll spare your life today. The burly man from the celestial divinity sect roared and turned to run. Where do you think you're going? Lu Ming used the Wind Yuan technique and chased after the burly man from the celestial divinity sect. Chapter 1392. The two of them disappeared from this place. However, it was impossible for the man from Heavenly Divine Sect to shake off Lu Ming. Moreover, as time passed, the distance between Lu Ming and the man from Heavenly Divine Sect was getting closer and closer. After all, the man from Heavenly Divine Sect was severely injured and he was running for his life. As his injuries worsened, his speed became slower and slower. This won't do. If this continues, this brat will catch up to me sooner or later. Now that I'm severely injured, I'm no match for him. The man from Heavenly Divine Sect thought of a way to escape. Behind him, Lu Ming's eyes were cold. His body was enveloped in a green radiance as he chased after the man from Heavenly Divine Sect. He must kill the man from Heavenly Divine Sect. The man from Heavenly Divine Sect was the reason why he was being chased by all the experts from Heavenly Divine Sect. First, they spread the news that Lu Ming had the primordial chaos token and could enter the core of the ruins of God safely. Then, they spread the false news that the Dragon God Valley had been annihilated. This made the powerhouses in the mainland of the ruins of God have no scruples about Lu Ming and go all out to hunt him down. Later on, when Lu Ming plotted to kill a large number of powerful cultivators from the continent of God, the burly man from the Celestial Divine Sect launched a sneak attack and severely injured his second body. Now, even Dandan and Bubbles had fallen into a coma. Lu Ming had suffered a great loss. Moreover, the man from Heavenly Divine Sect would definitely take revenge on Lu Ming in the future if he didn't kill him. His family and friends in Divine Wilderness Continent would be in danger. Therefore, Lu Ming had to kill the man from Heavenly Divine Sect at all costs to prevent future troubles. The distance between the two of them was getting closer and closer. No, this can't go on. I can only give it a try. The man from Heavenly Divine Sect had a ruthless look in his eyes. He suddenly changed his direction and flew towards the east. That's the direction of the ancient city of Heavenly Divine Ruins. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The location he had chosen was in the central region of Heavenly Divine Ruins. It wasn't far from the ancient city of Heavenly Divine Ruins so that he could wait for the experts from the 4 divine palaces to appear. Is he trying to use the ancient city of Heavenly Divine Ruins teleportation formation to escape back to Heavenly Divine Sect? Lu Ming guessed. That was indeed the case. The burly man from the Heavenly Divinity Sect no longer cared about his injuries. He wanted to use the teleportation array to escape back to the Heavenly Divinity Sect. As long as he returned to the Heavenly Divinity Sect, he would be safe. In the future, when he recovered from his injuries, he would definitely return to the Divine Ruins continent and kill all of Lu Ming's friends and family, completely destroying the Divine Wilderness continent. A cold light flashed across the Heavenly God Sect's burly man's eyes. I won't let you have your way. Lu Ming's gaze was resolute. More energy poured into the wind-suppressing pearl. Lu Ming used the wind origin art to its peak, increasing his speed. The distance between him and the Heavenly Divinity Sect's large man was shrinking. Quick, quick! The burly man from the Heavenly Divinity Sect roared in his heart as he tried his best to escape. Soon, a huge ancient city appeared in front of them. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them, one in front and one behind, rushed into the ancient city of gods. What's that? What a powerful fluctuation! That's a sovereign. So powerful. Who is it? In the ancient city of the ruins of God, some experts were alarmed and looked at the sky in shock. In front of them, the 36 Big Dipper Mountains were in sight. We're here, we're almost there. The Heavenly Divinity Sect's large man's eyes shone with hope. Strength, come to me! At this moment, Lu Ming roared. An even stronger energy poured into Lu Ming's body from the wind-suppressing pearl. Lu Ming's body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The wind-suppressing pearl contained a lot of energy. Too much energy poured into it, and Lu Ming could not withstand it at all. He was injured by the energy. But because of this, Lu Ming's speed increased greatly. He suddenly sped up and closed in on the heavenly divinity sect's large man. Whoosh! The dragon-veined sword slashed at the heavenly divinity sect's large man. Not good! The heavenly divinity sect's large man was shocked and quickly turned around to block with his sword. Clang! The heavenly divinity sect's large man was sent flying and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Suppress! The prison-suppressing monument bloodline appeared above Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming turned into the prison-suppressing monument and suppressed the heavenly divinity sect's large man. Boom! The heavenly divinity sect's large man was hit by the prison-suppressing monument. His body was like a meteorite as he slammed heavily onto the ground. A Tiangang peak exploded and his body almost split apart. Prison-suppressing monument, why do you also have the prison-suppressing monument? Is this a bloodline? No, it's a fragment of the prison-suppressing monument. The heavenly divinity sect's large man struggled to get up. He looked at Lu Ming's prison-suppressing monument bloodline and shouted in disbelief. Boom! Lu Ming could not be bothered with him, and the prison-suppressing monument pressed down again. This time, the heavenly divinity sect's large man was almost killed. The heavenly divinity sect's large man was extremely weak. The long sword in his hand flew out, and he no longer had the strength to resist. Spare me, spare me! The heavenly divinity sect's large man screamed in fear. Spare you? You didn't show any mercy when you wanted to kill me previously. If it wasn't for my good luck, I would have been dead already. Lu Ming's cold voice could be heard from the prison-suppressing monument. The prison-suppressing monument vibrated and emitted a cold, killing intent. It wanted to press down again and completely eliminate the heavenly divinity sect's large man. Wait a minute, Lu Ming. You've awakened the prison-suppressing monument bloodline. If you can obtain the main body of the prison-suppressing monument, you'll be like a tiger that has grown wings. The heavenly divinity sect's large man suddenly shouted. You know about the main body of the prison-suppressing monument? The prison-suppressing monument's killing intent paused and Lu Ming's voice could be heard. Seeing that Lu Ming was interested, the heavenly divinity sect's large man was overjoyed. He said, That's right. According to legend, the prison-suppressing monument was shattered by someone a long time ago. It turned into several fragments and scattered across the world. I know a fragment of the prison-suppressing monument is in the Heavenly Divinity Sect. Heavenly Divinity Sect? Lu Ming's heart shuddered. That's right. As long as you promise to let me go, I'll definitely find a way to help you steal the fragment of the prison-suppressing monument when I return to the Heavenly Divinity Sect. The Heavenly Divinity Sect's large man shouted. However, he was plotting something in his heart. Do you think that I'll believe you? The prison-suppressing monument's fragment is a treasure that the Heavenly Divinity Sect will definitely protect. With your cultivation, you're definitely not a high-ranking person in the Heavenly Divinity Sect. How can you obtain the fragment of the prison-suppressing monument? Do you think that I'm that easy to trick? Even if the Heavenly Divinity Sect really has the fragment of the prison-suppressing monument, I'll take it myself in the future. So, you should just die. Lu Ming's cold voice could be heard and he was about to kill the Heavenly Divinity Sect's large man. Buzz! At this moment, one of the 9 ancient altars in the sky suddenly emitted a bright light. Lu Ming's heart shuddered. The fact that the altar emitted light meant that the people from the Yuanlu sect were coming. Wasn't there still half a month before the 2-year agreement with the Yuanlu sect? Could it be that the people from the Yuanlu sect had come earlier? Buzz! When the first altar lit up, the second altar followed suit. Then, the third altar lit up as well. A total of 3 altars lit up and a spatial door appeared. 2 figures appeared on each of the 3 altars. The people from the Heavenly Divinity Sect! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Lu Ming recognized one of the people on one of the altars. It was a white-haired old man. He was the white-haired old man from the Heavenly Divinity Sect that he had met during the selection of disciples. Chapter 1393. Then, Lu Ming looked at the other two altars. Divine Dragon Valley and Heavenly Universe Demon Sect? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. On one of the altars was the middle-aged man from Divine Dragon Valley who had come to the Divine Ruins mainland previously. Behind him was a young man. On the third altar, there were two middle-aged experts from Heavenly Universe Demon Sect. Deacon, save me! This Lu Ming wants to kill me! When he saw the white-haired old man from Heavenly God Sect, he was overjoyed and shouted crazily as if he had found his savior. As soon as the burly man from the Celestial God Sect shouted, the people from several parties looked toward Lu Ming and the rest. What? Lu Ming, how dare you? The white-haired old man from Heavenly God Sect reacted and shouted. Kill! At the same time, the suppressing prison steel shook and pressed down on the man from Heavenly God Sect. There was no time to lose. The arrival of Yuan Lu's sect was out of Lu Ming's expectation. However, he had to kill the man from Heavenly God Sect. Therefore, Lu Ming took action immediately. Decisive. No, you! The man from Heavenly God Sect screamed. The burly man from the Celestial God Sect screamed in despair. He did not expect Lu Ming to have the guts to attack him after seeing the white-haired elder from the Celestial God Sect. Boom! The suppressing prison steel continued to press down on the man from Heavenly God Sect. The man from Heavenly God Sect was torn apart, and his body and soul were destroyed. How dare you! You are courting death! There was a cold roar in the sky. The white-haired elder of the Celestial God Sect exuded an extremely terrifying aura. The aura was so strong that it was far stronger than the burly man from before. Lu Ming was like an ant in front of him. Bang! Under the pressure, Lu Ming could not maintain the suppressing prison steel form, and it collapsed. Lu Ming's original body appeared. His face was pale and he almost vomited blood. What are you trying to do? Do you think the disciples of Divine Dragon Valley are easy to bully? Scram! Just as Lu Ming was about to collapse, a loud shout was heard. It was the burly man from Divine Dragon Valley. An aura that was not weaker than that of the white-haired elder erupted and blocked the white-haired elder's aura. Only then did Lu Ming feel the pressure on his body disappear. He couldn't help but let out a long sigh. His heart was very heavy. Strong, too strong. Whether it was the white-haired old man from the Heavenly Divinity Sect or the middle-aged man from the Dragon God Valley, they were all too strong. They had far surpassed Lu Ming. Lu Ming seemed to be very strong in the Continent of God group. However, compared to the experts in Yuan Continent, he was much weaker. He felt that the white-haired old man from the Heavenly Divinity Sect and the middle-aged man from the Dragon God Valley could easily kill him. You want to stop me? This little bastard dared to kill a member of my Heavenly God Sect in front of me. He must die. The white-haired elder looked at the burly man from the Dragon God Valley coldly. Must die? How laughable. With me here, let's see how you'll kill them. The middle-aged man from the Dragon God Valley stared at the white-haired elder. Are you trying to go against the Heavenly Divinity Sect? The white-haired elder's face darkened. The burly man from the Dragon God Valley sneered. Kill. Suddenly, the white-haired elder moved and charged towards Lu Ming. I knew you would sneak up on me. The middle-aged man from the Dragon God Valley followed suit and threw a punch at the white-haired elder. Boom! The two of them exchanged blows and the heavens and earth rumbled. However, both of them kept their strength and did not release it. Otherwise, the ancient city of God would be in danger. If you want to fight, let's fight. Then I'll kill you first. The burly man from the Dragon God Valley and the white-haired elder from the Heavenly Divinity Sect rushed into the sky and started an intense fight. Whoosh! At this moment, a terrifying pressure came from the sky. A terrifying palm force pressed down on Lu Ming. It was the young man from the Heavenly Divinity Sect. He suddenly attacked Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming didn't hesitate and threw a punch at the sky. When the fist and the palm force collided, Lu Ming's face changed. He felt an endless force rushing towards him. Lu Ming's body shook violently and he was forced to retreat. Swoosh! A figure landed in front of Lu Ming. It was the young man from the Heavenly Divinity sect. Lad, you're not bad to be able to take a blow from me with your Supreme Being cultivation. However, I only used 30% of my strength in that blow. Try taking another blow. The young man from the Heavenly Divinity sect threw another blow at Lu Ming. The power of this blow was much stronger than the previous one. Lu Ming's face turned solemn. He exerted his strength to the maximum and executed the hell-suppressing heaven skill. The fledgling chaotic domain covered his fist, and he threw a punch. Boom! The fist collided with the palm force for the second time. Just like the previous time, Lu Ming felt an irresistible force rushing towards him. He couldn't help but retreat. How could he be so powerful? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He found it unbelievable. He could clearly see that his opponent's cultivation wasn't too strong. Second layer martial dominator realm. Furthermore, his cultivation was at the early stage of the second layer martial dominator realm. He could easily kill the cultivators of the godly ruins continent with a single blow. However, apart from the chaotic flipping heavenly seal, he had already used his full strength, but he was still no match against his opponent. Furthermore, he could feel that his opponent was not using his full strength. It felt unfathomable. Lu Ming believed that even if he were to use the chaotic flipping heavenly seal, he still wouldn't be able to defeat his opponent. His opponent's strength was too powerful. Could it be that he was a genius of the Heavenly Divinity sect? Lu Ming began to make guesses in his heart. Interesting, you're able to resist my second blow. What about my third blow? The young man from the Heavenly Divinity sect felt embarrassed after failing to kill Lu Ming with 2 consecutive blows. His expression turned cold. His aura grew stronger. Stop putting on an act here. Fight me if you have the ability. At that moment, a burly young man suddenly appeared behind the young man from the Heavenly Divinity sect and attacked him. The young man from the Heavenly Divinity sect turned pale. He couldn't be bothered to deal with Lu Ming. He turned around and fought with the burly young man. The burly young man was the one who had come with the burly young man from the Divine Dragon Valley. The two of them fought, and it was hard to tell who would win. How powerful! There was a look of shock in Lu Ming's eyes. The burly young man from the Divine Dragon Valley had a similar cultivation as the young man from the Heavenly Divinity sect. They were both early LV2 Martial Royal Realm. However, their combat strength was extraordinary. Lu Ming felt that some of the weaker LV4 Martial Royal Realm cultivators in the Godly Ruins continent were no match for the two of them. Yuan Lu is indeed not simple, Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. His eyes were filled with anticipation. There was no doubt that Yuan Lu was filled with experts and the Godly Ruins continent couldn't be compared to them. Lu Ming was filled with anticipation. Lu Ming knew that the Heavenly Divinity sect might have a fragment of the suppressing prison monument. This made Lu Ming even more excited. He had a feeling that if he could gather all the fragments of the suppressing prison monument, the bloodline of the suppressing prison monument would undergo a shocking change. Chapter 1394. Everyone in the ancient city of the Divine Ruins was alarmed. Some of them ran away while others ran towards Lu Ming. When they sensed the fluctuations of the battle, they retreated frantically. At this moment, Xian Yanqing appeared with a thought from Lu Ming. Xian Yanqing! As soon as Xian Yanqing appeared, the eyes of the two middle-aged men from the Sky Universe Demon sect lit up. Lu Ming, what's going on? Xian Yanqing looked around with a puzzled expression. She was worried when she saw that her second body was severely injured. Dandan and Bubbles were unconscious. Now that she saw that Lu Ming was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Ming gave a brief account of what had happened. I see. Xian Yanqing looked around and bowed to the two middle-aged men from the Sky Universe Demon sect. The two middle-aged men from the Sky Universe Demon sect looked at Xian Yanqing and nodded with a smile. They seemed satisfied. They were surprised and satisfied that Xian Yanqing's cultivation had reached the Supreme Being level. 2 years ago, they had met Xian Yanqing. At that time, they were well aware of Xian Yanqing's cultivation. In the continent of the Divine Ruins, Xian Yanqing was able to break through to the Supreme Being level in just 2 years. This kind of talent made them think more highly of Xian Yanqing. Then, Xian Yanqing whispered a few words to the 2 middle-aged men. One of the middle-aged men nodded and flew into the sky. He joined forces with the burly man from the Divine Dragon Valley to fight the white-haired old man. Sky Universe Demon Sect you! The white-haired old man roared, but he was no match for the 2 experts. He was suppressed and could only retreat out of the battle. Old man, if you want to fight, I don't mind killing you today. The burly man from the Divine Dragon Valley sneered. Good, very good. Do you really think that the Divine Sky Sect is easy to bully? Let's wait and see. The white-haired old man said angrily, but he didn't dare to make a move. The white-haired old man stopped his attack. The 2 young men also stopped and backed away. People of the Divine Ruins Continent Group, listen up. I am a deacon of the Sky Celestial Sect in the Yuanlu. Ask the disciples of the Sky Celestial Sect who have yet to head to the Yuanlu to hurry over. The white-haired old man's voice spread far and wide. Hee hee! The middle-aged man from Dragon God Valley sneered and walked to Lu Ming's side. He sized up Lu Ming, and his eyes lit up as he said, As expected of a prodigy who has awakened the 9 dragons' bloodline. Your talent is amazing. I haven't seen you for 2 years, and your cultivation has already reached the Supreme Being level. This is really rare in a place like the Godly Ruins Continent. Thank you for your help, Senior. Lu Ming bowed. Haha, you're a disciple of my Dragon God Valley. Why are you being so courteous? My name is Long Yuan Shan, a deacon of Dragon God Valley. You can just call me Deacon Long, Long Yuan Shan said in a rather heroic manner. Then, he introduced the young man, who was called Long Wei. By the way, what happened? Long Yuanshan looked at the corpse of the Sky Celestial Sect man with a puzzled expression. He knew how strong the Sky Celestial Sect man was, and he found it unbelievable that he was killed by Lu Ming. It's like this. Lu Ming did not hide anything and told him the gist of the matter. He told him about how he was surrounded by the Sky Celestial Sect man and the others 2 years ago, and what happened recently. Of course, Lu Ming skipped over the important matters, such as him entering the Primal Chaos Palace, cultivating the Primal Chaos intent, Dandan and Bubbles. He did not mention anything. He only said that the Sky Celestial Sect man was severely injured by the headless true dragon rider in the core of the Divine Ruins Continent. Damn it, the Sky Celestial Sect is so despicable to secretly kill the disciples of my Dragon God Valley. Long Yuanshan shouted angrily as he looked at the white-haired old man from the Sky Celestial Sect in an unfriendly manner. He seemed to be thinking about whether he should attack the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man looked vigilant. In the end, Long Yuanshan also had some misgivings and did not attack. It's good to kill such trash. It's a pity that Long Chun was accepted as a disciple by the Divine Elephant Sect. However, his bloodline is more suitable for the Divine Elephant Sect. Long Yuanshan muttered, then looked at Lu Ming and asked, Lu Ming, did you really obtain the Chaos Origin token in the War of Providence? Yes. Lu Ming nodded. Lu Ming did not hide the fact that he had the Chaos Origin token. Haha, amazing. Who knows, you might have a fortuitous encounter in the future. Long Yuanshan's eyes flashed with surprise. He did not ask any more questions. In fact, there were many things that did not make sense in Lu Ming's words. Long Yuanshan could naturally tell, but he also knew that it was Lu Ming's secret. Lu Ming was so young and had such a cultivation base. It was normal for him to have some secrets. However, some people in the continent of Divine Ruins group have the guts to attack a disciple of my Divine Dragon Valley. They should be taught a lesson. Long Wei, go and teach those who are still alive a lesson. Let them remember that my Divine Dragon Valley is not destroyed. Lu Ming is a disciple of my Divine Dragon Valley. If they want to deal with Lu Ming's family and friends in the future, then they don't need to exist anymore. Long Yuanshan said. Yes. Long Wei nodded and then stepped into the air and left. Thank you, Deacon Long. Lu Ming thanked him. Lu Ming knew that Long Yuanshan was comforting him, and Lu Ming really needed this favor. Although most of the emperors in the Continent of Divine Ruins group had been killed by Lu Ming in the previous battle. However, there were still some powerhouses left in the various factions. Although there were not many powerhouses left, Lu Ming was still worried that these people would cause trouble for the Divine Wilderness Continent after he left. However, with the powerhouses of the Divine Dragon Valley stepping forward to teach them a lesson, these factions should be obedient. Not long after, a Sky Pride arrived. It was Ji Hongqian. Ji Hongqian's father, Ji Feng, did not participate in the capture of Lu Ming because of Ji Hongqian's persuasion. Therefore, he was spared. There were not many Sky Prides left in the Celestial God sect. There were only 2 of them. Soon, the 2 of them arrived. The white-haired elder of the Celestial God sect led the 2 of them onto the ancient altar and left. Lu Ming, I have to go too. Xian Yanqing came to Lu Ming's side and said reluctantly. The Sky Universe Demon sect was only here to pick up Xian Yanqing. Now they had to leave. Little Qing, don't worry. I've asked Senior Long Yuanshan. The Divine Dragon Valley and the Sky Universe Demon sect are in the same territory and are not too far apart. I'll visit you in the future. Lu Ming held Xian Yanqing's hand and said, Okay. Xian Yanqing nodded and suddenly kissed Lu Ming on the lips. Lu Ming, you have to work hard. Don't let me surpass your cultivation the next time we meet. After saying that, she smiled brightly and turned to leave. Lu Ming smiled and looked at Xian Yanqing and the 2 powerhouses of the Sky Universe Demon sect leaving. There was a trace of reluctance in his eyes. Little Qing, don't worry. Our separation is only temporary. When we have the strength to dominate the world, we won't have to separate anymore. Lu Ming whispered and his gaze became firm again. A few days later, the news of Lu Ming's battle with the powerhouses of the 4 celestial palaces spread wildly across the Divine Ruins continent, and even to other continents. Chapter 1395. All the experts who had gone to capture Lu Ming had been killed by Lu Ming, shocking the world. The continent group of Divine Ruins was in an unprecedented uproar. After this battle, the continent group of Divine Ruins was destined to undergo a great reshuffle. Then, there was news that the Divine Dragon Valley of Yuanlu had not been annihilated and was safe and sound. The news that the Divine Dragon Valley had been annihilated was false. This news made those major forces keep quiet out of fear. They no longer had the slightest bit of disloyalty towards Lu Ming and the Divine Wilderness continent. Even those top experts had died, and they did not want to die. Moreover, the Divine Dragon Valley had not been annihilated and Lu Ming was now a disciple of the Divine Dragon Valley. Even if they were given 100 guts, they would not dare to touch the Divine Wilderness continent. Ancient City of Divine Ruins, under the altar. Lu Ming, do you have anything else to deal with? We'll go to the Divine Dragon Valley after you're done, Long Yuanshan said. Lu Ming looked towards the south as if he had pierced through layers of void and landed on the Divine Wilderness continent. After a while, Lu Ming shook his head and said, No. Senior, let's go. Lu Ming had already arranged everything in the Divine Wilderness continent before he left. Now that the matter of the continent group of Divine Ruins had been resolved, there was no need for him to worry too much. The only thing he needed to do now was to go to Yuanlu and cultivate. When his cultivation had increased in the future, it would be easy for him to come back and take a look. All right, let's go, Long Yuanshan said. The 3 of them climbed up an ancient altar and stepped into the light door of the altar. Lu Ming seemed to have stepped into a void passageway. Countless lights and shadows flashed all around him. After an unknown period of time, his body shook and the lights and shadows disappeared. Lu Ming discovered that he had appeared on an ancient stone platform. He looked around and saw that he was surrounded by desolate mountains. Is this Yuanlu? Lu Ming looked around curiously and stepped out of the stone platform. Boom! The moment he stepped out of the stone platform, a terrifying pressure acted on Lu Ming's body, causing his body to tremble, and he almost knelt on the ground. He only managed to stabilize his body after exerting some force. This is... Lu Ming felt as if his body had become several hundred times heavier. The air around him seemed to have become incomparably heavy, constantly pressing down on his body. What happened? Lu Ming was bewildered. Only by exerting force in his body could he counteract the external pressure. Lu Ming, do you feel that your body has become several hundred times heavier? There's a strong pressure acting on your body. Long Yuanshan walked out of the stone platform and said with a smile. That's right. Deacon, what's going on? Lu Ming asked curiously. Lu Ming, if you want to understand what's going on, you must first have a rough outline of the geographical distribution of the entire primordial realm, Long Yuanshan said. Then, with a wave of his hand, a picture appeared in the sky. On the picture was a boundless ocean. The primordial realm is a boundless ocean. Within the ocean are countless continents, and the primordial continent is in the center of the ocean. Long Yuanshan stretched out his hand and pointed. On the picture, a continent appeared in the center of the ocean. This continent was very large. Even in the entire ocean, it occupied a very large area. This was the primordial continent. In the primordial realm, the primordial continent is the center. Countless continents of various sizes are scattered outwards. Actually, most of them can't be called continents. They can only be considered islands. Long Yuanshan waved his hand. With the primordial continent as the center, numerous black dots appeared on the rest of the ocean. They were densely packed, and it was unknown how many there were. These black dots were continents. However, compared to the primordial continent, they were like dust. Even some of the bigger continents could not be compared. The difference was too great. So many? Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. He stared at the sea, at the countless black spots that were densely packed together. He was filled with shock. Could these all be continents? Continents like the divine wilderness continent? Senior, where are the continents of the divine ruins? Lu Ming asked again. Here. Long Yuanshan pointed to the ocean south of the primordial continent. It was a corner that was extremely far away from the primordial continent. There were a few black dots scattered there. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. The continents of the divine ruins were too far away from the primordial continent. They were too small, just like dust. They were almost negligible in the picture. Was this the continents of the divine ruins that he had been living in? However, it was so small in the primordial realm. It was beyond Lu Ming's imagination. The primordial realm is a complete world. It is also very unique. The primordial continent is the center of the primordial realm. The laws of heaven and earth are also the most perfect and flawless. Therefore, the primordial continent is stable and the origin chi is rich. It is a true cultivation holy land. With the primordial continent as the center, the laws of heaven and earth will become weaker and less perfect. The space is extremely unstable, and the origin chi of heaven and earth will become thinner and thinner. You can easily tear the space apart in the continents of the divine ruins. However, you can try it here. Long Yuanshan patiently explained to Lu Ming. So that's how it is. Lu Ming was amazed. He took a deep breath and realized that the heaven and earth here was filled with rich origin chi. It was origin chi, not spirit chi. The spirit chi of heaven and earth here was very thin. It was mostly origin chi. He casually took a breath and the surging origin chi gathered in his body. Boom! Then, Lu Ming threw a punch. However, a scene that shocked him appeared. His fist only pierced through the air, creating a terrifying whistling sound. However, the space did not move at all. There was not even a ripple. What a stable space! It's unbelievable! In the continents of the divine ruins, he could easily tear the space apart and punch through the void. However, there was not even a ripple in the space here. The closer you are to the primordial continent, the more perfect the laws of heaven and earth are. Everything in the world is also the most perfect and stable. Naturally, the gravity will be stronger and the pressure on people will also be stronger. Long Yuanshan explained. Bam! Lu Ming stomped heavily on the ground. The rocks exploded and a pit appeared. It's so hard! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He could clearly sense that the rocks here were just ordinary rocks. They were not hard metal ores. Although he did not use his full strength when he stomped, if he was in the continents of the divine ruins, a mountain range would have collapsed. However, he only created a pit here. Even ordinary rocks were so hard. Long Yuanshan was right. Everything in the world here was more stable than in the continents of the divine ruins because of the perfection of the laws of heaven and earth. The destructive power of a martial emperor realm expert here was much lower than in the continents of the divine ruins. Of course, this also meant that it would be more dangerous for martial artists to venture out. This was because the power of heaven and earth was stronger. Chapter 1396. With Lu Ming's cultivation, even flying would be much slower, let alone tearing through space. Yuan Lu is indeed extraordinary. Lu Ming sighed. Lu Ming, you're wrong. This isn't Yuan Lu. Long Yuanshan smiled. Beside him, the dragon guards smiled as well. Lu Ming's reaction was within their expectations. What? This isn't Yuan Lu? Lu Ming's pupils constricted as he said in shock. Yes. Long Yuanshan waved his hand and the picture in the air disappeared. He said, This is just a small island near Yuanlu. In your eyes, this is a continent. If we're really in Yuanlu, the pressure from the outside world would be stronger than this. Everything in the world would be more stable than this. What? Lu Ming's heart trembled. This wasn't Yuanlu. It was just an island near Yuanlu. They were just near Yuanlu, but everything in the world was already so stable. If the pressure from the outside world was already so strong, how terrifying would the real Yuanlu be? However, Lu Ming immediately thought of something. The cultivation environment here was already dozens of times better than the continent of God. How good would the cultivation environment in Yuanlu be? The pressure from the outside world was just a small matter. After some time, one would get used to it. The cultivation environment was the most important as it could allow one's cultivation to break through continuously. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with even more anticipation. Lu Ming, this is a transit station for outsiders to get used to it. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it if you enter Yuanlu all of a sudden. Long Yuanshan explained with a smile. Lu Ming nodded to express his understanding. Let's go. Let's move forward. There should be others here. We'll be staying here for half a month, Long Yuanshan said and moved forward. After crossing a large mountain, some lofts appeared in front of them. Lu Ming realized that there were also some young people living here. These young people's cultivation was very strong. There were 8th-level spirit gods, 9th-level spirit gods, and even perfected spirit gods. Lu Ming saw that the strongest one was at the supreme level. He learned from Long Yuanshan that these youths were the disciples that the Dragon God Valley had recruited from various continents. Like Lu Ming, they had stayed in their original continents due to some matters. They were only heading to the Dragon God Valley now. Therefore, there were not many of them, only about 100 of them. Lu Ming was assigned a room. The next half a month was mainly to adapt to the environment here. This was because the environment of the continent of God was too different from the Yuan continent. In the courtyard of the pavilion, Lu Ming brandished a set of fist techniques, his figure leaping up and down. He let his body slowly adapt to the environment here. At the same time, he also let the circulation speed and frequency of the true essence in his meridians adapt to this place. A few hours later, Lu Ming stopped and felt comfortable all over. His body had also adapted slightly. In the beginning, when Lu Ming moved, he would either use a little more strength or a little less strength. Now it was much better. The Yuan Qi here is really rich, and the will of heaven and earth is so clear. Lu Ming sensed carefully. The will of heaven and earth here was dozens of times clearer than in the continent of God. In other words, it was many times easier for a martial artist to comprehend the will of heaven and earth here than in the continent of God. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Lu Ming and more than 100 youths stepped into the teleportation array and headed to the Yuan continent. It felt as if they were in the void tunnel again. After some time, that feeling disappeared and they reappeared on a huge altar. This is a snow mountain. Lu Ming looked around and realized that this was a snow mountain. Little guys, welcome to the Yuan Continent's Dragon God Valley. Long Yuanshan's deep voice sounded. He stepped out of the altar and said, You better be prepared when you come out. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He understood what Long Yuanshan meant. The laws of heaven and earth in the Yuan continent were perfect, so the pressure of heaven and earth might be even greater. On the altar, because of the protection of the array, he could not feel it. Let's go! Yuan continent, I'm finally here! These youths were extremely excited and flew out of the altar one after another. However, when these youths flew out of the altar, their bodies trembled. Some of the weakest among them almost could not stabilize their bodies. What a strong pressure! Lu Ming also flew out of the altar and immediately felt a terrifying pressure acting on his body. The weight of his body was also extremely shocking. The pressure here was probably hundreds, or even thousands of times greater than in the continent of God. Lu Ming was shocked. Also, it's so cold. Lu Ming felt a chill run through his body. This was a snow mountain, so the temperature was shockingly low. With Lu Ming's cultivation, he could not feel the cold of ordinary snow and ice. However, the temperature here made him feel a chill run through his body. The origin chi of heaven and earth. Lu Ming took a deep breath. Immediately, the origin chi of heaven and earth surged towards him. It was unimaginably rich. Lu Ming felt that if he casually breathed in, the amount of origin chi would be equivalent to the amount of a low-grade origin stone. The origin chi of heaven and earth was rich while the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was extremely thin. Whoosh! In the distance, a burly old man in a short-sleeved shirt with bare arms flew over and landed in front of Lu Ming and the rest. Long Yuanshan and the rest greeted the old man. Lu Ming, I'll leave first. This is Deacon Long Yuanchuan. He will arrange your accommodations, Long Yuanshan said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. Then, Long Yuanshan and the others who went to the other continents like him left one after another. All right, follow me. I'll take you to your accommodations, Long Yuanchuan said and flew forward. Everyone quickly followed. However, they had just arrived and the pressure of the outside world was too strong. For a while, they could not adapt to it. This was after half a month of adapting at the transit station. Otherwise, it would be even more difficult. After flying down the snow mountain, their field of vision widened. In front of them, an incomparably huge glacier canyon appeared in front of them. This glacier canyon was formed by the separation of two mountain ranges. In the sky, heavy snow swirled, and the world was covered in white. Lu Ming looked into the distance and found that in front of the huge glacier canyon, there were also snow mountains. However, they were far away and could not be seen clearly in the vast snow. Dragon Chi, so much Dragon Chi, so strong! Lu Ming felt that the 9 dragons' bloodline was a little hot. Through the 9 dragons' bloodline, he was shocked. Through the 9 dragons' bloodline, he seemed to be able to see countless Dragon Chi in the glacier canyon and the snow mountain further away. In the huge canyon, there was a lot of Dragon Chi that was still weak. However, behind the canyon, in the vast snow mountain, there was some Dragon Chi that was earth-shattering. In front of it, Lu Ming was like an ant. Boom! A terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He could not help but take a few steps back and quickly withdrew his senses. So strong! That aura is far beyond an emperor. Is that the aura of a saint? Lu Ming's heart was in a perilous situation. Chapter 1397. The burly old man, Long Yuanchuan, glanced at Lu Ming and said, There are many experts in the valley. You'd better not use your bloodline to sense them. Otherwise, you'll only be asking for trouble. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Some of the others were in awe. Obviously, Lu Ming was not the only one who had sensed the aura of the snowy mountain in front of them through their bloodline. The disciples recruited by the Dragon God Valley were all geniuses who had awakened the bloodline of the true dragon. It was easy for them to sense each other. The group continued flying forward. It's so cold! After flying into the huge glacier canyon, the temperature dropped even lower. Moreover, the temperature kept dropping as they went further in. While flying, Lu Ming sized up the surroundings. The glacier canyon was huge. The glacier walls on both sides were tens of thousands of feet tall. On the glacier walls, one could see houses and palaces carved out of ice. However, most of them were cave dwellings that had been carved out of the walls of the glacier. Moreover, there were some side valleys on both sides of the canyon. It was like a main vein with some branches extending out. Some people lived in these branch valleys. After flying for more than 10 minutes, the burly old man led them into a valley. There were many caves carved out on both sides of the valley. At a glance, there were at least a few thousand caves. Many of the caves were already occupied. As if sensing the arrival of people, some people walked out of the caves. They were all very young, the same generation as Lu Ming and the others. What a strong cultivation! Lu Ming's pupils shrank when he sensed the cultivation of these people. Supreme Being, these young men were all Supreme Being. However, Lu Ming immediately felt relieved. The cultivation environment here was too good. It was many times better than the continent of God. Even a pig could cultivate to the martial king realm, or even the spiritual God realm here, not to mention those peerless geniuses. All right, you can stay here for the time being. The people here are like you, newly selected disciples from the other continents. However, they came 2 years earlier than you. Also, this glacial valley is only the outer valley. You are not official disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley yet. You can only be considered as reserved disciples. You can only be considered as official disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley after passing the test. There are still 4 months until the trial. You should cultivate diligently during this period of time. With your talents, it won't be difficult for you to reach the Martial Highness realm in 4 months. Most of those who came here 2 years ago have already reached the Martial Highness realm. Let me tell you, this assessment is a great opportunity. Others can only be envious. The higher your cultivation, the greater your chances of obtaining the opportunity. Therefore, you must seize this opportunity and work hard. The burly old man explained in detail. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Right now, they weren't official disciples. They were just reserved disciples. They needed to pass the test before they could be considered official disciples. The standards of the Yuanlu Great Sects for recruiting disciples were really harsh. At this moment, the burly old man waved his hand and a jade token appeared in his hand. The token had a lifelike ice dragon carved on it. The burly old man waved his hand and the jade tokens flew to Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming grabbed one of the tokens. There's a number on this token, which represents the number of the ice cave you're staying in. Check in according to the number. Also, this token is the identity token of your reserved disciple. Alright, you guys get used to it and cultivate well. I'll come back after a while to explain the details of the assessment to you guys. After saying this, the burly old man left the place. Everyone looked for the corresponding ice cave according to the number on the jade token. Nice to meet you, brother. Just as Lu Ming was about to look for his cave residence, a clear voice was heard. Lu Ming looked sideways and saw a lady looking at him with a smile. The lady was wearing a white dress. She had a sweet smile and fair skin. She was a rare beauty. Behind the lady was a young man in a white shirt and holding a folding fan. Lu Ming was a little surprised. He did not know these two people. They should be the disciples who came here 2 years ago and had just walked out of the ice cave. If he did not know them, why did they greet him? Hello? Lu Ming replied politely. The young lady blinked and looked at Lu Ming carefully. She seemed to be very curious. Lu Ming touched his nose and was a little speechless. Lu Ming was not narcissistic enough to think that a beauty would take a fancy to him as soon as he arrived. Little sister, what are you doing? Behind the lady, the man holding a folding fan was also very curious. Your bloodline is very special, the lady suddenly said. Lu Ming was stunned again. Brother, please don't misunderstand. I am Chiu Ying and this is my elder brother, Chiu Hao. How should I address you? The lady smiled. Lu Ming. Lu Ming replied. Brother Lu, my bloodline is quite special. I have been sensing your bloodline just now and feel that your bloodline has been suppressing mine, so I am very curious and want to befriend you. Chiu Ying said. I see. Lu Ming guessed that what she had sensed was most likely his 9 dragons bloodline. Buzz! At that moment, the shadow of a true dragon appeared behind Chiu Ying and disappeared in a flash, but Lu Ming still saw it clearly. Chiu Ying's true dragon bloodline was not a 5-clawed true dragon, but a 6-clawed one. It was actually a 6-clawed true dragon. According to legend, the true dragons all had 5 claws, and the 9 dragons were a variant of the true dragons. Only then would they have 9 claws. However, Lu Ming did not expect there to be a 6-clawed true dragon in the world. Perhaps it was also a variant of the true dragon. Lu Ming guessed. Brother Lu, my bloodline is quite special. It is a variant of the true dragon and has 6 claws. It is more powerful than ordinary true dragons, so I am very curious. What is your bloodline? Can it suppress me? Chiu Ying blinked and looked at Lu Ming carefully. She was very curious. My bloodline? Lu Ming whispered. As he spoke, the 9 dragons' bloodline appeared behind him, and he immediately put it away. Chiu Ying and Chiu Hao's eyes widened. 9 dragons? Your bloodline is the legendary 9 dragons. No wonder you can suppress me! Chiu Ying exclaimed in surprise. Lu Ming smiled. There was no need to hide the 9 dragons' bloodline. Once they fought, others would know immediately. Brother Lu, it's your first time here. Have a good rest. My brother and I came here 2 years ago. We will show you around in a few days, Chiu Ying said with a smile. All right, then I'll thank you in advance. Lu Ming cupped his fists, and then found his ice cave and walked in. There was an ice door at the entrance of the ice cave. It was activated by a jade talisman and automatically closed. The ice cave was very big and wide. It was 100 meters in length and width, and at least 10 meters in height. There were ice tables, ice chairs, and even ice beds inside. Chapter 1398. Lu Ming walked to the wall and clawed at the ice wall. Crack! Only a few claw marks appeared on the ice wall, and they were not deep. It's so hard. Everything in the Yuan continent is much harder than the transit station. Compared to the Godly Ruins continent, it is incomparable. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. After that, Lu Ming began to practice martial arts to adapt to the external pressure. After practicing for a few hours, Lu Ming stopped and felt comfortable all over. Then, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. Once the true dragon fighting art was activated, the rich origin chi between heaven and earth frantically gathered toward Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. What rich origin chi! Lu Ming discovered that absorbing the primordial chi of heaven and earth here was comparable to swallowing low-grade primordial stones. This was too shocking. When one cultivated here, one did not even need low-grade origin stones. The surging origin chi was constantly being swallowed and refined, turning into true origin. At the same time, Lu Ming's mind entered a state of emptiness. He began to comprehend heaven and earth, and nurtured the embryonic form of the chaotic domain. In this place, Lu Ming realized that not only had the essence of heaven and earth become clearer, but the great Tao of heaven and earth, which was even more profound than the essence of heaven and earth, was also clearer. This was almost impossible to sense in the Godly Ruins continent. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Comprehending the great Tao of heaven and earth would allow the sovereign's domain to improve faster. It was no wonder that the sovereigns in the Godly Ruins continent cultivated very slowly. Especially in the Godly Wilderness continent, most of the sovereigns were stuck at level 1 Martial Royal Realm. Those who could reach level 2 Martial Royal Realm were the top experts. There were very few of them. It was no wonder that the sovereigns in the Godly Ruins continent racked their brains to enter the Yuan continent and cultivate there. This was because the cultivation environment was too different. The difference was too great. After those sovereigns came to the Yuan continent, their cultivation would probably improve by leaps and bounds. In the blink of an eye, half a day had passed. Lu Ming finally ended his cultivation. It feels so good to be able to cultivate here. Lu Ming's face was full of amazement. He realized that cultivating here for half a day was equivalent to cultivating in the godly wilderness continent for a month. His embryonic form of the chaotic domain had matured again. It was getting closer to full maturity. Wow, Lu Ming, you're in Yuan Lu. Haha, you've finally left that poor and remote place. A Dandan's voice sounded in Lu Ming. It was Dandan. It had climbed onto Lu Ming's shoulder and was sucking in the air with its mouth. Large amounts of origin energy were sucked into Dandan's mouth. Dandan, you're awake! Lu Ming was delighted. Dandan had been unconscious for almost a month since the last battle. 4. Dandan glanced at Lu Ming, then said with a sad face, Lu Ming, you've suffered heavy losses this time. Although you've woken up, you're far from recovered. Take out all your spiritual herbs. Having said that, she stared at Lu Ming with sparkling eyes. All right, let's enter the mountain river diagram. Lu Ming said and entered the mountain river diagram with Dandan. In a valley, Bubble was still curled up and sleeping soundly. There was a transparent bubble at the tip of his nose that was fluctuating in size. Lu Ming's heart ached. It seemed that the little guy had suffered heavy losses in the last battle. Lu Ming waved his hand and the valley was immediately filled with spiritual herbs. All kinds of spiritual herbs of various grades were piled up in the valley. In that battle, hundreds of sovereigns were killed. The spiritual herbs in those storage rings were terrifying. Lu Ming took them all out for Dandan and Bubble to eat to their heart's content. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, you're very generous this time. Dandan's eyes lit up and immediately rushed into the pile of spiritual herbs. He grabbed a handful of spiritual herbs and stuffed them into his mouth. Chirp chirp, seeming to have sensed the aura of the spirit herbs, Bubbles woke up. It glanced at Lu Ming in a daze and then at the pile of spirit herbs in a daze. Afterward, its gem-like eyes emitted bright rays of light and it pounced into the pile of spirit herbs, gulping them down in big mouthfuls. However, there were so many spiritual herbs here. The two guys ate as much as they wanted, but soon, their stomachs bulged. They lay there and burped, their mouths full of medicinal fragrance. The mountain river diagram has its own space, but the environment seems to be the same as the divine wilderness continent. I should absorb some origin chi to improve the environment here. Lu Ming thought. In the mountain river diagram, there were mountains, rivers, flowers, and trees. Later on, Lu Ming captured many demonic beasts and planted many spiritual herbs in the mountain ridge. However, the environment here was similar to the divine wilderness continent. Whether it was the spiritual herbs or the demonic beasts, their growth was slow. If the environment was the same as the divine wilderness continent, the spiritual herbs in the mountain river diagram would grow faster. With a thought, Lu Ming came out of the mountain river diagram and reappeared in the ice cave. Then, the mountain river diagram appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He opened the mountain river diagram and whispered, "Absorb." Whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, the mountain river diagram released a powerful suction force and absorbed the origin chi between heaven and earth. The origin chi between heaven and earth formed a funnel-like shape and crazily gathered toward the mountain river diagram. At this moment, the people in the valley were alarmed. The geniuses who were cultivating were awakened. What's going on? Why is the origin chi of heaven and earth gathering in one direction? Who's cultivating? That's impossible. Even a ruler wouldn't cause such a huge commotion when he cultivates. Who is it? Voices were heard. Some people walked out of the ice cave and sensed carefully. Although they knew which ice cave it was, they did not know who it was. However, this effect was only limited to the Branch Valley. After all, the origin chi here was too rich, and the Branch Valley was very vast. This is the Enlightenment Ancient Tree! Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. Originally, the mountain river diagram's absorption of the origin chi between heaven and earth would not cause such a big commotion. It was mainly because of the Enlightenment Ancient Tree. The Enlightenment Ancient Tree had 3 crisp leaves on it. Its branches were very thin, even smaller than a pinky finger. In the Divine Wilderness continent, the Enlightenment Ancient Tree grew too slowly. Now, the Enlightenment Ancient Tree was glowing and shining. A mysterious aura lingered on it as it kept absorbing the origin chi from the outside world. At the same time, Lu Ming sensed that the Enlightenment Ancient Tree seemed to be resonating with the great path between heaven and earth. Wisps of great path aura were emitted from the Enlightenment Ancient Tree. In just a moment, Lu Ming felt that the branches of the Enlightenment Ancient Tree had grown a little thicker, and its leaves had become greener. The 4th leaf! All of a sudden, Lu Ming's eyes widened. He noticed that the 4th leaf had also grown. It seems that the Enlightenment Ancient Tree has a chance to fully grow in the Yuan continent. It's considered good that it can survive in the Divine Wilderness continent, Lu Ming thought to himself. He was overjoyed. If the Enlightenment Ancient Tree fully grew, it would be of great help to him. Lu Ming took out a lot of spiritual liquid and watered the roots of the Enlightenment Ancient Tree. It seems that I have to get more spiritual herbs in the future to let the Enlightenment Ancient Tree grow as soon as possible. Chapter 1399. Just like that, the mountain river diagram and the Enlightenment Ancient Tree frantically absorbed origin chi for 3 days and 3 nights before calming down. The mountain river diagram was already filled with rich origin chi. Lu Ming put away the mountain river diagram. The following days were very peaceful. Lu Ming cultivated and practiced martial arts every day to adapt to the environment. Half a month later, Lu Ming had completely adapted to the environment of Yuanlu. At that moment, Lu Ming opened the door of the ice cave and went out to take a breather. "Brother Lu!" A delicate voice called out. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and saw the siblings, Chiu Ying and Chiu Hao. "Miss Chiu, Brother Chiu, what a coincidence!" Lu Ming smiled. "Brother Lu, how have you adapted during this period?" Chiu Hao waved his folding fan and said with a smile. To be honest, Chiu Hao was very handsome. He wore a long robe and waved his folding fan like an elegant young master. "I've completely adapted," Lu Ming said with a smile. "That's great. We're going to the market. Brother Lu, do you want to come with us?" Chiu Ying said. "Market? Sure." Lu Ming agreed immediately. He was also very curious. The environment of Yuanlu was so good that it would definitely produce countless treasures. The Divine Wilderness continent could not compare to it. Lu Ming also wanted to see it. If there were suitable ones, Lu Ming also wanted to buy some. The 3 of them walked out of the branch valley together. Then, they walked along the huge glacier canyon and walked into the depths of the canyon. This canyon was only the outer valley. The people who lived here were basically reserved disciples and some servants. The real Dragon God Valley was inside the canyon, which was a vast snowy mountain. The market was deep in the canyon. Many official disciples of the Dragon God Valley would come and go there. Only then would there be good things. Soon, Lu Ming and the others arrived at the market. The market covered a very large area. There were stalls on both sides of the street. The layout was similar to that of the Divine Wilderness continent. People came and went in the market. So many powerhouses! Lu Ming spread out his spiritual sense and scanned it slightly. His heart trembled. 5 out of 10 people walking on the street were emperors. Some of them were very young, looking like they were in their 20s. The most shocking thing was that Lu Ming saw a few 12 or 13-year-old teenagers. They still had a childish look on their faces, but they were actually emperors. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Seeing Lu Ming's expression, Chiu Ying smiled and said, "Brother Lu, we were too shocked when we first arrived. But it's also because the cultivation environment of Yuanlu is. Indeed." Lu Ming let out a long breath. Martial emperors were absolute overlords in the Divine Wasteland continent. They ruled over a region and ruled over a region. However, in the Yuan continent and the Divine Dragon Valley, they were everywhere. Because emperors were nothing in Yuanlu. If one did not have a backer, it would be very dangerous to cultivate in the outside world. If one was not careful, one might die. In Dragon God Valley, rank 1 to rank 3 martial emperors are worthless. They have no status and are like servants. Rank 4 martial emperors and above have some status. Rank 7 martial emperors and above are the backbone of Dragon God Valley. Some of them can be assigned to some positions. Qiu Yingying explained in a low voice. She then added, "Of course, young geniuses are not included." Lu Ming nodded. He knew that young geniuses had different statuses wherever they went, because young geniuses had unlimited possibilities. This is life elixir. Moreover, it's of the highest quality. Suddenly, Lu Ming saw the life elixir in a stall. The highest quality life elixir. Lu Ming had seen the life elixir in the Divine Wilderness continent. However, Lu Ming had never heard of the highest quality life elixir. It was almost extinct in the Divine Wilderness continent, and even the continent of godly ruins. The highest quality life elixir was very useful for emperors as it could heal their injuries. Yuan Lu was indeed worthy of its name. He saw such a precious spiritual elixir as soon as he arrived. Lu Ming's second body was severely injured. The highest quality life elixir was very important to the second body. Lu Ming had to get it. "Senior, how much is this bottle of life elixir?" Lu Ming cupped his fists at the stall owner and asked. The stall owner was an old man with white hair. The old man raised a finger and said, 100,000 origin stones, 100,000 origin stones. Lu Ming was stunned. It was not because it was too expensive, but because it was too cheap. A bottle of the highest quality life elixir was only a legendary treasure in the continent of godly ruins. How could it be sold for only 100,000 origin stones? Lu Ming was in disbelief. He asked again, "Senior, it's only 100,000 origin stones." "Of course, not one less, not one more," the old man said. "All right, I'll buy it then." Lu Ming took out a storage ring with 100,000 primordial stones inside. The old man took it and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. His expression changed, and he threw the storage ring back to Lu Ming. "Junior, are you playing with me?" Lu Ming was confused. "Senior, please don't blame him. Brother Lu just came from another continent, so there are some rules that he doesn't quite understand." Qiu Yingying quickly tried to smooth things over. "Oh? So you're a new reserve disciple from another continent?" The old man's expression softened. "Brother Lu, the origin stones that this senior is talking about are middle-quality origin stones." Qiu Yingying quickly transmitted her voice to Lu Ming. "They're middle-quality origin stones." "Yes, the origin stones that are commonly used in Yuanlu are middle-quality origin stones. Generally speaking, middle-quality origin stones are referred to. Low-quality origin stones are almost useless in Yuanlu. They're considered trash only under special circumstances." Qiu Yingying explained. "I see." Lu Ming smiled. The cultivation environment in Yuanlu was too good. Cultivating casually was equivalent to cultivating with low-quality origin stones. Therefore, low-quality origin stones were basically useless. Only middle-quality origin stones were mainstream. A middle-quality origin stone was equivalent to 10,000 low-quality origin stones. 100,000 middle-quality origin stones were equivalent to 1 billion low-quality origin stones. The price was reasonable. However, there was a problem. Lu Ming did not have any middle-quality origin stones. He had killed so many emperors, and his storage rings were filled with low-quality origin stones. There were at least tens of billions of them. However, after arriving in Yuanlu, low-quality origin stones were completely useless. What a waste! Lu Ming wailed in his heart. His heart ached. So many origin stones were useless in Yuanlu. They had become trash. Now Lu Ming had become a pauper. He had no money. Lu Ming's face turned green. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao smiled bitterly when they saw Lu Ming's expression. They were the same when they first arrived. "Little guy, haha, the low-quality origin stones on you are useless, right? Do you have any treasures on you?" You can use them to exchange. Chapter 1400. Treasure? Lu Ming pondered. He had given all the spiritual herbs he had to Dandan and Bubbles. However, even if he took them out, they would not be worth much. Lu Ming would not take out anything that was too valuable, such as the lightning cauldron and the air-frozen pearl. Only an emperor's spiritual weapon would be left. Senior, how many medium primordial stones would an emperor's spiritual weapon be worth? Lu Ming took out a large saber and asked. Lu Ming had killed many emperors in the godly ruins continent, and had obtained nearly 20 emperor's spiritual weapons. An emperor's spiritual weapon is not bad. It is worth 1,000,000 primordial stones. The old man's eyes lit up. 1,000,000 primordial stones? Lu Ming's eyes also lit up. The value of an emperor's spiritual weapon had greatly exceeded his expectations. It was even more valuable than he had imagined. Brother Lu, an emperor's spiritual weapon can only be fully unleashed by those above the 7th martial royal realm. Only saints can refine it. Although there are many of them in the Yuan continent, there are too many high-level martial royal realm cultivators in the Yuan continent. The demand is too great. Therefore, the value of an emperor's spiritual weapon has always been very high. Qiu Yingying explained to Lu Ming. Lu Ming suddenly understood. Indeed, there were many emperor's spiritual weapons in the Yuan continent. However, there were even more high-level martial royal realm cultivators. Basically, the supply could not meet the demand. Therefore, the value was naturally high. For example, in the small continents outside the Yuan continent, such as the godly wilderness continent, emperor's spiritual weapons were usually left behind by saints or high-level martial royal realm cultivators when they went to those places. It was basically impossible for anyone to refine them. Most of them were passed down from the Yuan continent. For example, Lu Ming had obtained the Emperor's spiritual tower in the same mansion's secret realm. It was also brought over from the Yuan continent by the heavenly profound saint. The Emperor's spiritual weapons in the godly ruins continent were usually obtained this way. They had only accumulated a few after countless years. Little brother, do you want to sell this Emperor's spiritual weapon? If you want to sell it, I will buy it, the old man said. I want to sell it. Senior, I have another one. Following that, Lu Ming took out an emperor-rank spirit weapon that looked like an iron rod. The elder and Qiu Yingying were surprised. They didn't expect Lu Ming to have so many emperor-grade spiritual weapons. All right, I'll buy it. Here are 1.9 million origin stones and this bottle of top-grade life water. The old man handed Lu Ming a storage ring and a bottle of life water. Lu Ming took it and scanned it with his spiritual sense. He found a pile of raw stones lying in the storage ring. Every single one of them was filled with concentrated origin energy. Compared to low-tier origin stones, it was many times purer and denser. This was a middle-grade origin stone. Cultivating with a middle-grade origin stone was naturally many times faster than cultivating with a low-grade origin stone. After putting it away, Lu Ming continued to wander around with Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. On the way, Lu Ming discovered that there were too many natural treasures here. All kinds of spiritual herbs were level 9. Level 8 spiritual herbs were rarely seen. There were also all kinds of refining materials and spiritual liquids, all of which were of a very high level. Along the way, Lu Ming bought a lot of spiritual herbs. Soon the 1.9 million middle-grade origin stones were almost used up. Lu Ming's heart ached. Those were 2 emperor-grade spiritual weapons. However, the spiritual liquids and spiritual herbs he bought were very useful. The spiritual liquids could promote the growth of the tree of enlightenment, while the spiritual herbs could speed up the recovery of Dandan and Bubbles. After coming to Yuanlu, he realized that he had become a pauper. Although he still had a lot of emperor-grade spiritual weapons, they would be used up soon if he continued to use them like this. During this time, Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao also bought some things. Get lost! I'm interested in this turquoise blue fruit! Suddenly, a loud roar was heard. Nonsense, what do you mean you're interested in it? I said I'm interested in it. Get lost if you don't have money! Another voice was heard. Who do you think you are to tell me to get lost? Let's fight in the arena if you dare! The voice from before was heard. Let's fight then! The voice from behind was heard. Then they saw a group of people flying in a certain direction. Emperor-grade spiritual weapons are about to fight. Brother Lu, let's go to the arena and see what's going on, Qiu Yingying said. All right, I'd like to see it too. Lu Ming was curious. The three of them followed the crowd to the arena. If the disciples of the Dragon God Valley had any conflicts, they would usually settle it on the sparring platform. Boom! Boom! As soon as Lu Ming and the others arrived, they heard a violent explosion. On a huge arena, two figures were constantly colliding with each other. The two burly men in their 30s were constantly punching each other with their fists. Violent explosions were heard between heaven and earth. Third-level martial royal realm, but their combat strength is very strong. Lu Ming's eyes widened. He realized that the cultivation of the two men was at the early stage of the third-level martial royal realm, but their combat strength was beyond Lu Ming's imagination. He felt that the LV4 martial royal realm experts on the continent of godly ruins were no match for the two men. The combat strength of the two men had completely surpassed the combat strength of the LV4 martial royal realm experts on the continent of godly ruins. Lu Ming was shocked. Brother Lu, do you feel that the two men's combat strength is very strong? Qiu Yingying said. Indeed, they're much stronger than the emperors on the continent I'm from. Lu Ming nodded. Yes, we were also very surprised when we first arrived, but this is the combat strength of an ordinary emperor from Yuanlu. Qiu Yingying explained. In Yuanlu, both the martial path and the inscription path have been developed to the extreme. It's much stronger than the other continents. All kinds of martial techniques, bloodlines, intent realms, and spiritual bodies have been developed to the extreme. Therefore, the cultivators here are very strong, far stronger than those on the other continents. For example, the emperors, unless they're low-ranking servants, usually those with a little status, have cultivated realm martial techniques, and their combat strength is very shocking. Yuanlu, it's indeed Yuanlu. Lu Ming couldn't help but clench his fists together. The cultivation civilization of the Yuan continent had already developed to the extreme. It was far from what the godly ruins continent could compare to. It could be said that a decent cultivator in the Yuan continent would be a genius that could challenge those with a higher cultivation level than him. Lu Ming thought of the people that Di Xian had brought with him. Those people's combat strength was not very strong. Maybe the status of those people was akin to servants in the Di clan, which was why their combat prowess wasn't particularly high. Lu Ming's thoughts were in a whirl, and he felt a great pressure. Here, there were too many powerhouses. Rulers were all over the streets, and only saints were high and mighty powerhouses. Moreover, the emperors here had extraordinary combat strength. In the continent of godly ruins, Lu Ming could fight with a peak LV3 martial royal realm expert without using the chaotic flipping sky seal and without the help of his second body. However, if Lu Ming did not cast the chaotic flipping sky seal and did not have the help of his second body, he might only be able to fight with an early-stage second-level martial emperor martial artist. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.